Chapter 1330. How is it? Zhu's voice continued to resound in the ears of everyone in the Yuan Tower. High-grade nether jade should be enough to purchase the items I mentioned earlier. I am sure it's enough. It's completely enough. The waiter became excited. This was a huge order. If this order was successful, the increase would be considerable. All right. Since you know, then hurry up and go. With that, Lin Rei and the other two all chose to remain silent. Seeing that there was nothing else for him to do, the waiter immediately turned around and left to make preparations. Looks like it'll be fun in a while. I believe that the city lord of this city should be arriving soon. Lin Rei smiled when he sensed the aura that soared into the sky. Awoo! The scarlet flame tiger roared furiously. His face was filled with killing intent. Brother Lei, don't worry. As long as they dare to come, I'll tear them apart. I'll let them know what it's like when an emperor is angry. 1,000,000 corpses will fall. This. Little tiger, don't get so worked up. Lin Rei understood that little tiger was so worked up because of him. He hurriedly calmed little tiger down and turned his head to look at Zhu, who was rejoicing in his misfortune. He frowned. He could not tolerate Zhu's actions. If it were not for the fact that he had agreed to Zhu's request and that he possessed the item that Lin Rei needed the most, they probably would not have gotten along like this. However, there was naturally a way to get along. Lin Rei could not tolerate Zhu's current actions. Zhu, I know that you have your own pride as an expert. However, I hope that you can put away your pride with me. What did you say? Zhu was enraged. He released his killing intent. Suddenly, the temperature in the room plummeted. It was as cold as winter. He stared angrily at Linli. He couldn't figure out what Linli was capable of. What gave him the right to be so unbridled? If this had been in the past, these words would have been enough to take his life. Zhu, you need to remember that only I know how to return to the saint's world here. If you want to undo the seal on your domain, you better behave yourself. It's best if you don't play any tricks during this time, Jianchen said. After saying that, Lin Rei did not say anything else. As for Zhu, he quickly calmed down and turned to look at Lin Rei. The temperature within the restaurant rose rapidly. However, it had only happened for an instant and no one there noticed anything amiss. Little tiger, remember, the most important thing for you now is to accumulate your strength and break through to the Saint Realm. As for the city lord, leave him to me. Don't worry about this little bastard. After saying that, he gave little tiger a reassuring smile and stopped talking. The scarlet flame tiger wanted to say something, but he did not say it in the end. As for Zhu, he sat to one side unhappily. Lin Rei's actions today had already crossed the limits of what he could endure. He swore that he would make Lin Rei pay a corresponding price once he returned to the saint's world. Lu Ding and the others hovered in the air not far away from the Yuan Pavilion. The people in the restaurant had not sensed the sudden and terrifying killing intent, but they had sensed it clearly. Everyone, what do you think? Looking down, Yi Futian's face was solemn. Thinking back to the murderous aura just now, that soul-stirring, murderous intent made him feel as if he was in a boundless azure field. There was only murderous intent around him, and only by killing could he survive. At this moment, the people who followed Lu Ding all had stern expressions. Just how many people did he have to kill to condense such a killing intent? He did not dare to think about it because it did not exist in the underworld. Yet, he had encountered it here. Zhong Yaoming nodded as he looked at Lu Ding. He even said what he wanted to say. City Lord, an existence like that is not something we can deal with. The only thing we can do now is to sound him out and see what he plans to do and how long he plans to stay here. If necessary, we will do our best to help. As long as we can get this maleficent existence out, we will agree to anything. As soon as he said that, everyone nodded in unison. After making the decision, they did not hesitate and walked toward the Yuan Pavilion where Lin Rei was. Oh, they're here. Sensing those energies slowly draw closer, a smile appeared on Linli's face. Linley had known about their arrival long ago. Thus, he wasn't surprised at all. Brother Lei, do you want me to create some chaos for them? Xiao Hu asked. No need. Lin Rei shook his head and refused. He continued, this time, I want to get some information about the underworld from them. So, we don't have to do anything. We just have to wait for them to come. The dishes were served one by one. Lin Rei and the others began to eat unhurriedly. However, not long after, Lu Ding and the others came in from outside. Using his divine sense, he sensed their auras and his smile widened. I did not expect that a city lord would come for a wilderness idler like me. At this moment, Lin Rei was really pretending to be innocent. He knew why this group of people was here, but, you must be joking. Lu Ding smiled and walked toward Lin Rei. He bowed and said, I don't know why you are here. Moreover, your auras are a little unfamiliar. You don't seem to be cultivators from the underworld. As soon as he said that, Lin Rei frowned. Obviously, he had underestimated Lu Ding. He did not expect this guy to be able to tell that he was not a cultivator from the underworld from his aura. Lin Rei was interested in Lu Ding. He put down his chopsticks and looked up at Lu Ding with a smile. He raised his hand and pointed at the table beside him. My friend, I ordered too much just now. Why don't we sit down and talk while we eat? Oh. Hearing this, Lu Ding looked over and saw that the dishes on the table beside him were exactly the same as those on Lin Rei's table. Lu Ding frowned when he saw this. He was a smart person. It would be strange if he still did not understand after seeing this. This was enough to prove that the person in front of him clearly knew that they were coming, so he made the reservation in advance. When he thought of this, he became even more vigilant against Lin Rei. It was not a good thing for such a person to appear in his territory. Although he thought about it, he did not refuse. He made an inviting gesture to the group beside him and said, Come. Since this fellow cultivator has made such arrangements, how can we not give him face? As he said that, Lu Ding sat down and grabbed the wine bottle on the table. He raised his head and took a sip of wine. Suddenly, a spicy taste rushed up his throat. Good wine. At this moment, the atmosphere was completely open. Looking at Lu Ding, Lin Rei went straight to the point. He said, My friend, I am here for no other reason than to ask you about the underworld. As he said that, he raised his wine cup and made an inviting gesture. However, this scene was different in Lu Ding's eyes. Lin Rei's words proved that he was indeed not from the underworld, but from the outer realm. At this moment, it was even more different. The atmosphere became serious. No one spoke. Lin Rei's group and Lu Ding's group looked at each other. The atmosphere was so serious that it made one's hair stand on end. Chapter 1331. The atmosphere grew more and more serious. It was as if a battle could break out at any moment. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Lin Rei laughed. He laughed very happily. It was as if he had encountered something that made him happy. Looking at Lu Ding and the others, Lin Rei said with a smile, Lord City Lord, do you think there's a need for us to do this? You give me what I need, and I'll give you what you need. Tell me, isn't this perfect? There's no need to make sparks fly everywhere. As he said that, he took a sip of wine. With those words, the solemn atmosphere was instantly broken. The atmosphere returned to how it was before. I wonder. Fellow Taoist, what do you want to know? Although Lu Ding appeared to be relaxed, his body grew more and more tense. Once Lu Ding said those words, everyone's gazes enveloped Lin Rei. They also wanted to know why the person before them had come. Profound Sect. Was there a sect called the Profound Sect in the underworld? Where was it? How strong was it? Profound Sect? Originally, he thought that Lin Rei would ask him some secrets of the underworld that he could not answer. Unexpectedly, the moment he said those words, he was completely stunned. Not only him, the people who came with him were also stunned. It was not that they had never heard of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. However, in their impression, the Celestial Sect of Wonders seemed to be a very, very small sect. Furthermore, it was within his jurisdiction. You know about it? Lin Rei saw the expressions of the crowd. From their expressions, Lin Rei was able to tell that this group of people before him definitely knew about the profound sect. As for Zhong Li's claim that the strongest person in their sect was only a star spirit, Lin Rei no longer believed that after coming here. Furthermore, what exactly was the strength of a star spirit? Earlier, Zhu had said that as long as the people of the underworld left the underworld, their cultivation would be suppressed. Since that was the case, then, what exactly was his level in this place? After coming to this unknown world, if he could enter a sect, perhaps he would be able to find out everything he wanted to know there. For example, how the underworld came to be, and where exactly was the empty underworld located in the universe. Faced with Lin Rei's burning gaze, Lu's expression kept changing. In the end, he opened his mouth and told Lin Rei everything he knew. Senior, the Xuanzong sect is under my jurisdiction, but... As he spoke, Lu Ding stopped, as if he found it difficult to continue. Lu Ding stopped. Lin Rei frowned, a look of displeasure flashing across his face. Continue. Yes. Lu Ding did not dare to be negligent and continued, the Celestial Sect of Wonders is the weakest sect in my jurisdiction. It can't be said to be the weakest sect. It's one of the weakest. Their sect's most recent disciple is only at the star spirit realm, so... As he spoke, he shrugged and didn't continue speaking. Upon hearing these words, Lin Rei narrowed his eyes slightly. It was exactly the same as what Zhongli said. However, the definition of cultivation in this world was different from that in the saint's world. If he were here, what would his cultivation be like? Thinking about it, he raised his head and looked at Lu Ding and the others. A smile flashed across his face. City Lord, may I know what my cultivation level is in the underworld? As he spoke, he instantly released his cultivation of the Great Perfection Dao Fruit Realm. Suddenly, the entire Huanghui city was enveloped by Lin Rei's powerful pressure in an instant. Plop, plop. Suddenly, the sound of people falling to the ground rang out. The entire Huanghui city was in chaos. Some of the weaker people fell to the ground and fainted the moment they felt Lin Rei's pressure. Those who were slightly stronger just lay on the ground and didn't faint. Of course, there were also some people. Kneeling on the ground, they tried to resist the pressure with their own cultivation. Even City Lord Lu Ding and the others directly knelt on the ground when they felt the pressure. Their bodies trembled as if the person in front of them was an emperor. They didn't dare to look directly at him. How is this possible? Kneeling on the ground, his body trembled. He was extremely shocked. He didn't even think that Lin Rei would have such a powerful cultivation. Just by releasing his cultivation, he could put them in such a sorry state. If that was the case, then in a real battle, let alone a single move, they wouldn't even be able to move half a move. Ah! At this moment, just as everyone was shocked by Lin Rei's cultivation, a miserable cry rang out from the side. Looking over, they saw a young man lying on the ground with a ferocious expression. He was in extreme pain as he branded Lin Rei and the others. That youth had left a very deep impression on Lin Li and the others, especially the unwillingness in his eyes. It was as if he didn't want to submit to others. It was a very impactful sight. Senior, hurry up. Your pressure is too strong. The people of Huanghui City can't bear it. Lu Ding said quickly. Not only the people of the city, but even he, the city lord, couldn't bear it. Although he didn't know who the person in front of him was, his cultivation was extremely powerful. Moreover, he couldn't sense his cultivation at all. However, one thing was for sure. The cultivation of the person in front of him had already surpassed the crepe myrtle star and entered a deeper level. Looking at the anxious looks on Lu Ding and the others' faces, Lin Li shrugged and nodded in boredom, agreeing to their request. In just an instant, the pressure disappeared. Everyone felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. Cold sweat covered their entire bodies, and they were all drenched. At this moment, there was a different scene in Huanghui City. City Lord, I wonder, what level is my cultivation in the netherworld? Hearing this, Lu Ding and the others were stunned. They looked troubled. Only Lu Ding took the initiative to step forward. He bowed and said, Senior, your cultivation is not something that we can judge. What do you mean? Senior, your cultivation has already surpassed the Crepe Myrtle Star realm. We don't know the details. Our cultivation is at most at the low level of the Star Venerable realm. We really don't know what the realms above are. Hearing this, Lin Rei was a little disappointed. The Crepe Myrtle Star was the highest realm that Zhongli had mentioned. However, suddenly, Lu Ding spoke once more. Senior, my Huanghui City is only a 9th grade city. If you head to a higher grade city, you might be able to find the answer you want to find. Moreover, there are even more powerful cultivators there. I believe that they should know the answer you want to know. Hearing this, Lu Ding used all his strength. The reason why he said this was because he didn't want Lin Rei to continue staying here. A strong and uncontrollable cultivator like him was undoubtedly a threat to him this time. He wouldn't allow this to happen. He also wouldn't allow his dignity to be challenged. Are you chasing me away? Looking up at Lu Ding, a faint smile appeared on his face. He knew what Lu Ding was thinking. Lu Ding just didn't want him to continue staying here. However, could Lin Rei let them do as they wished? What a joke. Although he didn't get what he wanted to know here, if he let this place become stronger and used this place as a base to explore other areas, then, would there be powerful cultivators coming here? At that time, what he wanted to know would come to him voluntarily. Chapter 1332. Although the 9th grade Huanghui City was weak, it was a place where one could rise up easily. At least, from Lin Rei's point of view, it was the same. He believed. A smile appeared on his face. Looking at Lu Ding's anxious expression, he smiled, City Lord, you are too polite. Although there are many strong cultivators in other cities, I still have some matters to settle here. Thinking of Zhongli, Lin Rei continued, in a few days, would like to make a trip to the Xian Sect. I wonder if you don't need me to lead the way. Hearing this, Lu Ding smiled bitterly. His brows furrowed tightly, and all his hopes were dashed. Oh, right. As if he suddenly thought of something, Lin Rei reached into his chest and searched for a while. Finally, when he pulled out his hand, there was a jade bottle in his hand. Looking at the jade bottle, Lin Li smiled and handed it to Lu Ding. He said, City Lord, take a look. This is my fault. This is a 9 transformation golden pill. Its effect is excellent, and it's beneficial to cultivation. This, looking at the jade bottle, Lu Ding wanted to reject it. However, thinking of the fact that he had not broken through for many years, he was tempted. However, out of caution, he did not reach out his hand. This was the first time they had met. How could he give away a pill that could increase one's cultivation? Seeing Lu Ding's hesitation, Lin Rei was not angry. If this happened to him, he would not accept it easily. Who knew if this pill was poisonous? City Lord, take this pill as a reward for showing me the way. Don't worry, there are no harmful substances in the pill. Besides, the corners of his mouth curled up, and a bloodthirsty expression appeared on his face. He continued, if I want to kill someone, why would I use such a despicable method? As he spoke, he waved his hand. Saint's spiritual chi was used on his palm and the pill bottle in his hand floated in the air. Finally, it landed in Lu Ding's arms. In comparison, Lu Ding was helpless. Since the other party had gone to this extent, he could not say anything. After all, he still had to give face to the other party. After all, the other party's cultivation was so strong. If he rejected him openly and angered the other party, he would be the one to suffer in the end. Thinking about it, he reached out and grabbed the pill bottle. He stood up and bowed, if so, then, thank you for your generosity. The Celestial Sect of Wonders. Senior, if you have the time, please feel free to instruct me at any time. After saying that, he took a step forward and a jade pendant appeared in his hand. Senior, this is my communication jade pendant. As long as you want to go to the Celestial Sect of Wonders, just crush this jade pendant. This junior is always waiting for you. Alright, this sovereign will remember. He stretched out his hand and put away Lu Ding's jade pendant. Then, he gestured for them to sit down and continued, take a seat. How can we let something so delicious go to waste? After saying that, he lowered his head and started eating again. At this moment, the matter had already been decided. He might have to stay in Huanghui City for a longer period of time. He raised his head and said to Zhu, during this period of time, if you have nothing to do, go out and take a look. See what kind of organization this Dao Alliance is and how powerful they are. If they don't attack, destroy them. Boom. Lin Rei did not use any vocabulary when he spoke. Lu Ding and the others heard him clearly. This news was like a bolt from the blue, striking their hearts. As the saying goes, the speaker doesn't mean anything, but the listener does. With regards to Lin Rei, they didn't want to say anything more. What did it mean to be strong? This was King strong. They were still thinking about how to invite him out. However, the first thing he said was to destroy the Dao Alliance. What kind of tone was that? What kind of joke was that? How powerful was the Dao Alliance? How many celestial body stage cultivators were there? How could they be destroyed by you? Just as Lu Ding and the others were deep in thought, Zhu's voice rang out, I say, Linli, you're a saint after all. Why do you want to destroy others at the slightest provocation? Besides, what right do you have to make me go? Didn't we agree earlier that I will only protect your personal safety? It's not good for you to go back on your word like this. After hearing those words, Lu Ding and the others felt much better. After all, this person's words were not as unpleasant as Lin Rei's. However, just as this thought appeared in their minds, Zhu's voice rang out again. Furthermore, is this Dao Alliance worthy of this sovereign taking action? In my opinion, this little guy beside you is just right to take action. This way, there will be no need for this sovereign to take action. After saying that, he ignored Lin Rei and began to eat. Lin Rei felt helpless as he looked at Zhu. He knew that this guy was uncontrollable. Sigh, there was nothing he could do. Who asked him to be so strong? However, he didn't notice that Lu Ding's expression froze the moment Zhu finished speaking. He originally thought that Zhu was different from Lin Rei. He didn't expect that Zhu was even crazier than Lin Rei. Disdaining to take action? Damn it, this is the Dao Alliance. Can you guys be more serious? Perhaps the Dao Alliance was nothing in Lin Rei's eyes. However, in Lu Ding's heart, the Dao Alliance was a supreme existence. It was because of the Dao Alliance that they were able to pass their days peacefully. Soon, everyone quieted down. The meal was finished just as they had imagined. Lu Ding's heart skipped a beat as he ate the meal. It was also the most painful experience in his life. He swore that he would never feel this way again. It was too unbearable. After they finished eating, the dishes were still being served. There were too many dishes in one menu. However, they still hadn't finished eating after eating so much. This made Lu Ding and the others wonder how much Lin Rei had ordered. He stood up and strolled over to Lin Rei, who was eating with his head lowered. He said, Senior, look, we've finished eating. I wonder if we can leave first. Lu Ding was afraid that Lin Rei wouldn't let him go. In the end, Lu Ding said that he had finished his business in the city. In the end, Lu Ding and the others left with ease. After watching everyone leave, Lin Rei put down his chopsticks and looked at the chair. He smiled. He had already gotten the result he wanted. He was just saying that he wanted to destroy the Dao Alliance just now to intimidate the other party. Of course, he also had another thought. If Lu Ding really informed the upper echelons of the Dao Alliance to come, he might be able to obtain more information from him. Especially the method to help Zhu break free from the sealing formation and the location of his sealer. In the netherworld, what Lin Li feared the most was encountering a sealer. He didn't want to encounter a sealer as soon as he entered the netherworld, only to end up like a candle and be sealed away by a sealer. If that really happened, there would be no hope for him to return to the holy world. His daughter, wife, and sect would all decline because of him. Of course, although the Nine Heavens Xuanzong sect could survive in the divine world, it was only the lowest level of existence. Zhu, do you still remember the appearance of the old man who sealed you? What do you mean? Zhu was stunned. Nonsense. Of course, I'll take a detour when I see him in the future. Do you think I'll be like you, overestimating myself and touching a tiger's butt? Chapter 1333. Zhu was extremely impressed by Lin Li's ability to bring up the taboo topic. Originally, after being released, he did not want to think about those rotten things of the past. Unexpectedly, he did not want to think about it. However, Lin Li insisted on bringing it up. He had no choice. A helpless expression appeared on his face as he smiled bitterly. I will never forget that old man's face, but, he looked at Lin Rei and reminded him, that guy isn't someone you can touch right now. Moreover, that guy won't appear in such a low-level province. Don't worry. I can't guarantee anything else, but I'm very sure of this. This Lu province has nothing. The nether chi is so thin. It won't do him any good to come here. Lin Rei secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Zhu's words. He relaxed. As long as he didn't encounter a sealer, everything would be fine. All right. If that's the case, let's play around here. As long as I find what I want and accumulate some nether jade, we'll be able to leave here and return to the saints' world. After saying what he wanted to say, he did not continue. Right now, the bloodline grass was easy to deal with and the nether jades weren't difficult. The most important thing now was the sealing formation that sealed Zhu. That thing wasn't something he could break just because he wanted to. Even the simplest method of breaking the formation was to break it with brute force. It also depended on one's strength. Even Zhu, who was so strong, couldn't do anything about it, let alone him, who was only at the Dao fruit realm. If he wanted to break the sealing formation, he had to break through to the eternal life realm at the very least. That was the lowest standard. Even if he broke through to the eternal life realm, he couldn't break it unless he continued to cultivate until he surpassed the sealer. As such, breaking the sealing formation was absolutely foolproof. There wouldn't be any problems. Just like that, Lin Rei stayed in the Origin Tower after eating a meal. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Within these 3 days, Lin Li had gained a thorough understanding of Huang Huiqing. He didn't know much about Huang Huiqing, but when he did, he was stunned. He knew that the cultivators in this city were weak, but he didn't expect them to be this weak. In the entire city, only Lu Ding and the few people he had brought with him had decent strength. The rest were trash. It was not an exaggeration at all. He believed that even the weakest disciple from his sect would be able to crush everyone in the city. In Huanghui City, there were both ordinary people and cultivators. It was a city of cultivators. Within it, there were places to buy and sell heavenly materials and earthly treasures. There was also an auction house and a chamber of commerce. Most importantly, there were also the 4 great unions. As for the cultivation clans, they existed as well. The main city of Huanghui City was led by the 3 great clans. Among them, Lu Ding was the current clan leader of the Lu clan, which was the head of the 3 great clans. The remaining 2 clans were the Wang clan and the Shi clan. Among them, other than the Lu clan, the second strongest was the Shi clan. The Shi clan's rock explosion spell was especially famous. It was said that when a cultivator who cultivated the rock explosion spell reached a high realm, his entire body would be covered by a special mineral. Even a cultivator who was a realm higher than his predecessor would have no way to defend against it. The remaining Wang clan was also a merchant clan. It could be said that 2/3 of the economic lifeline of Huanghui City was in the hands of the Wang clan. Most of the shops in the city belonged to the Wang clan. The cultivators in the clan were also very powerful. It could be said that even if the other two clans wanted to destroy them, they would have to think carefully about whether they could withstand the economic blow. In the early morning, a refreshing breeze blew past. The door of the room where Lin Rei was in opened and Lin Rei walked out of the room. Today, Lu Ding was coming here. He had sent a message saying that he had something to discuss. Now, in front of the door, the old man looked up at the blue sky and his mood was inexplicably good. I don't know why Lu Ding is looking for me. Thinking of Lu Ding's idea of wanting him to leave, Lin Rei felt that it was very funny. In fact, Lu Ding didn't have to do this. One should know that with his cultivation, if he wanted Huanghui City, there was no need to talk nonsense with him. It would be easier to just kill him and let him take it for himself. It was just that Lu Ding was confused by the situation. Of course, Lin Rei didn't have the slightest intention to explain this. After all, this was actually quite interesting. He tidied his clothes and walked towards the remote restaurant. Just now, he had probed with his divine sense and found that Lu Ding had arrived. At the door of the remote restaurant, Lu Ding came with Wang Yu. After 3 days, he came here again. Wang Yu was deeply moved. Just think about it. 3 days ago, he felt the feeling of death here. Now, he came here again and saw the man who frightened him again. How could he not be nervous? You're here. Lin Rei, who happened to walk out of Ho Yuanyuan, saw the two people at the door and waved. It was early in the morning, so there weren't many people in the restaurant. Hearing Lin Rei's greeting, Lu Ding and Wang Yu's expressions were tense. They hurriedly stepped in front of Lin Rei and bowed respectfully. Senior, have you been well these days? What is this guy talking about? Hearing Lu Ding's words, Wu Yu, who followed Lu Ding, was speechless. As a cultivator, unless he met an enemy that he couldn't defeat, or his life was coming to an end, there was no saying that he was not well. Wu Yu rolled his eyes and said to Lu Ding, Senior, this time we came less because a secret territory in the secluded valley will be opened soon. So, I wanted to invite you to come and watch the opening of the secret territory in the secluded valley. I don't know, Wu Yu was not sure. He lowered his head and was very nervous. After all, he had seen the strength of the person in front of him. If he could be invited, it would be beneficial for the secluded valley in the future. As one of the leaders of the secluded valley, how could he not be nervous? Yes, yes, yes. Senior, when the Dragon Springs secret territory in the secluded valley opens, the disciples of the various sects in the Lu province will gather there. Maybe you can meet the people of the Xuanzong sect there. Lu Ding hurriedly added. Oh. Really? To be honest, he was a little surprised that the two of them suddenly invited him less. After all, his previous intimidation had made the two of them completely afraid of him. But now, the two of them still dared to invite him less. He had to admit that Wu Yu was very brave. He raised his head and stared at the two of them. After thinking for a while, a smile appeared on his face. I can go to the secluded valley. But, Senior, please say it. As long as you say it, I can give you anything. As long as Lin Rei agreed, he could give him some money. Oh, actually, you don't have to be so nervous. Seeing Wu Yu like this, Lin Rei smiled and continued, I need some underworld elixir recipes, elixir refining techniques, and bloodline grass. No problem, Senior. You can enter the secluded valley's library as you wish. Although I can't guarantee that the library in the secluded valley is comprehensive, it is one of the best in the Lu province. Hearing this, Lu Ding's eyes widened. The Sutra Depository was the foundation of a sect. It was the symbol of a sect's rise and fall. But now, Worryless had agreed so easily. This was, are you sure? Lu Ding was shocked, but Lin Rei was even more shocked. No one knew the importance of the library better than he did. If a sect was compared to a person, then the library was the heart of this person. It was the source of all power. Now that the daylily had agreed so readily, Linley couldn't quite believe it. You really want to open the library in the secluded valley to me? Lin Ray asked for confirmation again. That's right. Regarding Lin Ray's confirmation, Wu Yu nodded without any hesitation. Looking at Wu Yu, Lin Ray was interested. Can you make this decision in the secluded valley? I don't want to go to the secluded valley with you and you can't make this decision. If that happens, I will be angry. Little guy, I'm very scary when I'm angry. I don't need to worry about millions of corpses. Have you thought it through? Wu Yu, you have to think it through. You're not the only one in the secluded valley. There's also the elder group, the Grand Elder, and the Grand Ancestor. Are you sure you can make this decision? Lu Ding could not bear it and advised. You have to know that if they don't want to, they can take away your identity at any time. They might even punish you because of this. Indeed, upon hearing these words, Worryless was stunned. A hint of hesitation flashed through his previously resolute eyes. Indeed, he hadn't considered these things before. He had only wanted to use Linley to bolster his reputation. As for the existence of the Council of Elders, as well as the Grand Elders, he hadn't considered these things. Why? Do you want to change your mind now? Seeing Wu Yu's hesitation, a smile appeared on his face. Think carefully. Don't make the wrong decision. As he spoke, he picked up the wine on the table and began to drink. He believed that Wu Yu had his own ideas. Although they had only met twice, he had a deep impression of Wu Yu. The two of them were silent. Lin Ray did not wait any longer. His time was not to be wasted. Did he have to wait a day for Wu Yu to think about it? Are you kidding me? He stood up and walked outside. Remember, if you make a decision, go to the backyard and tell me, follower. After speaking, Lin Ray's voice disappeared from the Yuan Tower and his figure disappeared from their sight. Huanghui City was very big. Compared to the cities in the divine world, it was much bigger. Moreover, this was the most barren place in the Lu province. As such, he really wanted to see the other cities. Walking in Huanghui City for 3 days, he had only passed by the restaurant and the shop that he had destroyed. As for the other places, he was not sure. Walking on the street, he looked around. He wanted to find the Alchemy Guild. He wanted to see the difference between the Alchemy Guild and the Divine World and the Holy World. If it was really the same, how strong were those alchemy guilds? Where was their headquarters? Of course, the most important thing was to go to the Alchemy Guild and find the bloodline grass. The Alchemy Guild mainly refined pills. Naturally, they would have the materials to refine pills. He deeply believed that if the Alchemy Guild did not have something, the chances of it being found in other places were very small. Along the way, he saw many shops. Moreover, there were many people coming and going. There were many cultivators, but most of them were in the lower Nebula realm. Of course, there were also some higher Nebula realm cultivators, but there were not many of them. Looking at the situation, Lin Ray frowned slightly and muttered in his heart, is there really an expert here? In the Holy World, there were gods, god emperors, god monarchs, and even Tao fruit saints everywhere. Every second-rate sect would have a few of them. As for the stronger sects, there were even earth saints and heavenly saints. But here, is it really like what Lu Ding said? The place is barren? He could not figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. After all, this matter was not important to him. Little brother, please wait. Coming back to his senses, Lin Ray looked at the young man who was passing by. He took a step forward and said, Little brother, this is my first time here. Please forgive me for disturbing you. It's nothing. Being suddenly called out to, he had wanted to explode. But seeing Linley being so courteous and polite, he instantly suppressed his urge to explode. Seeing that the young man was not angry, Lin Ray smiled and continued, Little brother, I would like to ask, is the Alchemy Union easy to walk around? Alchemy Union? Looking at Lin Ray, the young man was stunned. That's right. Seeing that Lin Ray nodded, the young man nodded and turned around. He pointed at a road in the distance and said, "Go straight on this road and turn right at the end. When you see the Wang clan's pharmacy, turn left and you will reach the Alchemy Union in a few minutes." Hearing such detailed information, Lin Ray smiled and bowed. "Thank you, little brother." "Oh, it's nothing." Shaking his head, he turned around and left. Looking at the young man's departing figure, Lin Ray sighed. There are still many good people around. After saying that, he turned around and walked toward the direction the young man had pointed. Lin Ray was not in a hurry. After walking for an hour, he arrived at the main point of the road the young man had pointed out. Raising his head, the words Alchemy Union appeared in front of Lin Ray's eyes. "I'm finally here." Looking at the huge door in front of him, Lin Ray had a feeling that this was the Holy World's Alchemy Union. Suppressing his excitement, he stepped through the door of the Alchemy Union and arrived at the main hall of the Alchemy Union. "This guest, may I know the purpose of your visit?" As soon as Lin Li stepped into the main hall, one of the attendants, who had always been by his side, stepped forward and spoke. "Buying pills? Buying or selling spirit herbs? Or are you looking for an alchemist to refine a specific pill?" Hearing the attendant's question, Lin Ray frowned slightly. He looked around and saw that the interior of the main hall did not give off a luxurious feeling. Instead, it was simple and grand, giving off a comfortable feeling. This guest, may I know the purpose of your visit?" Seeing that Lin Ray did not speak, the attendant's good temper disappeared under Lin Ray's silence. "Dear guest, if you don't have anything else to do, then I won't accompany you any further. There are other guests waiting for me over there." As he spoke, he saw that Lin Li was still staring ahead. He shook his head helplessly and turned to leave. "Do you have bloodline grass here?" Chapter 1334. Bloodline grass? The attendant paused, turned around and looked at Lin Ray with a doubtful gaze. He had been working in the Alchemy Guild for so many years. Although he wasn't an alchemist, after so many years, he still knew a little about some basic spiritual herbs. Even if it was some rare spiritual herbs, he still knew a little about them. But this bloodline grass, needless to say, after working here for so many years, this was the first time he heard of this kind of medicinal herb. He even suspected that the guest in front of him was here to buy spiritual herbs. "That's right, bloodline grass." Lin Ray nodded. Seeing the attendant's doubtful face, it was obvious that the other party hadn't heard of it before. Lin Ray didn't say much. "Call out your manager or alchemist here. If you don't know, perhaps they should know. Bloodline grass is very important to me, so please hurry up." In order to not delay the attendant's work, he could only do this. As the saying goes, the speaker has no intention, but the listener has an intention. Seeing Lin Ray speaking in a commanding tone, for a moment, he was a little displeased. As an attendant of the Alchemy Guild, although he couldn't be compared to the big shots in Huanghui City, in the eyes of some small people, he still had some weight. After all, if they wanted to cooperate with the Alchemy Guild, they would need to introduce them here. As the saying goes, being in a high position, some selfish and narrow-minded people would change their mentality when looking at others. For example, the attendant now, in his opinion, his status was more noble than Lin Ray. At this moment, Lin Ray's tone was commanding him, which made him angry. Looking at Lin Ray, his eyes widened. His anger came from his heart and his eyes were full of disdain. He didn't hide it at all. "Kid, do you know who you're talking to?" Lin Ray, looking at the attendant, Lin Ray was stunned. What was the meaning of this? Who was he talking to? Wasn't he just an attendant of the Alchemy Guild? "What, you're the president of the Alchemy Guild?" The disdain in the attendant's eyes was reflected in Lin Li's eyes. Lin Li's previously polite demeanor disappeared. Lin Ray disliked people like attendants the most. What's the matter? Isn't it just an Alchemy Guild attendant? He wasn't even an alchemist, yet he was so arrogant and despotic. Could it be that the Alchemist Guild was filled with such people? Linley was amused by the waiter's words. However, his killing intent instantly flared up. Killing intent flashed through his eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to cause any trouble here, the waiter would have died in a matter of minutes. Suppressing the killing intent in his heart, he looked at the attendant and forced out a smile. He continued, "Little guy, go and call your union's manager out. Moreover, do you think you can withstand my anger? As the saying goes, if the matter does not concern you personally, don't worry about it. It's best that you don't get involved in this matter. Obediently go and report it. If you continue to talk too much here, or if you have any thoughts about me, at that time, not to mention the manager of the Alchemy Guild, even the president of the Alchemy Guild won't be able to protect you. Moreover, do you think your little life is worth anything to be able to invite the president of the Alchemy Guild?" Lin Ray was very clear about this point. Of course, he couldn't guarantee that he was the kind of person who would protect his own. However, even if that was the case, could the president of the Alchemy Guild be his opponent? What a joke. Hearing Linley's words, the faces of the attendants grew darker and darker. Some of the people in the surrounding area, who rarely came to buy and sell pills and spirit medicines, began to gather around Linley and Li Mu, forming a circle around them. Hearing Lin Ray's words, some people revealed a look of schadenfreude. Some of them looked at Lin Ray with sympathy. In their opinion, causing trouble in the Alchemy Guild was no different from courting death. At this moment, Lin Ray was the one who was courting death in their hearts. Sigh, he's overestimating himself. Causing trouble in the Alchemy Guild, isn't he courting death? That's right. I don't know whose foolish son this guy is. He actually did such a thing. If his family knew, would they tie him up and send him to the Alchemy Guild? Isn't that right? What kind of existence is the Alchemy Guild? Is it something that anyone can provoke? What a joke. Sigh, what a pity. Such a handsome young man is so wasted. In an instant, the surrounding people revealed looks of pity and began to discuss enthusiastically. Moreover, their voices were so loud that Lin Ray heard them. In an instant, Lin Ray's face darkened. What was the meaning of this? Were they looking down on him? Although he was displeased, he didn't argue with the crowd. After all, people were like this. They were the amalgamation of gossip. There was no other way. However, Lin Ray couldn't tolerate the attendant anymore. In any case, he was a powerful expert. In the divine realm, he was an existence that suppressed all the gods. Yet, he was being looked down upon by a young man. This was truly a blow to his self-esteem. When his gaze landed on the attendant again, his gaze gradually changed. He no longer concealed his killing intent. Originally, he didn't want to cause trouble. However, it seemed that trouble had come knocking on his door. At this moment, the attendant didn't know that Lin Ray had submitted to him. As for him, he was still feeling proud of the words that the surrounding people were discussing. Because of this, the attendant became even more arrogant. It was as if the heavens were the boss and he was the second in command. He had been indirectly praised to the heavens. Young man, the Alchemy Guild isn't something that you can offend. If you know what's good for you, kneel down, kowtow, and admit your mistake. Then, this matter will be resolved. Otherwise. As he spoke, his eyes narrowed and killing intent flashed through them. Oh. Looking at the crowd and the attendant, Lin Ray's interest was greatly piqued. He continued, "What if I refuse? What can you do about it? Young man, I'm giving you a way out, but you don't want it. Since that's the case, then prepare to accept the judgment of fate." At this moment, Lin Ray had already been sentenced to death in the attendant's heart. As for the attendant, he didn't know that he had also been sentenced to death in Lin Ray's heart. He raised his head and shouted towards the entrance, "Lord Guard, someone is causing trouble in the Alchemy Guild. Please execute him." Once those words were spoken, everyone looked towards the direction that the attendant was looking at. When they saw a group of soldiers wearing red armor walking over from the entrance, they subconsciously opened up a path for the soldiers to pass by. Ta, ta, ta. When the sound of footsteps entered everyone's ears, it was as if a clear sky hammer was hammering on their hearts. Dong, dong, dong. It was very frightening. Naturally, Lin Rei noticed the group of soldiers. However, he didn't put them in his eyes at all. On the contrary, the attendant had a fawning expression on his face as he ran to the front of the soldiers. He bowed respectfully and said, "Lord Guard, this is the person who was being impudent in the Alchemy Guild. He even said that our Alchemy Guild is nothing but a fart. He even said that the guards with cultivation are like vermin in the Alchemy Guild, ants among ants. Listen to him, how can I tolerate him insulting all of you? Therefore, Lord, let's use this as a warning and let them understand that our Alchemy Guild's prestige is still there. Not just anyone can provoke the Alchemy Guild." Once those words were spoken, it had to be said that the skill of adding fuel to the fire was really good. Chapter 1335. Sure enough, after hearing the servant's words, a group of 6 guards instantly exploded with killing intent. Their eyes locked onto Lin Rei, as if they were about to attack. "Are you sure you want to attack?" Looking at them, Lin Rei finally spoke. He still didn't want to cause trouble here. After all, the strength of the Alchemy Union had already exceeded his imagination. Of course, if they really wanted to attack, then there would be no need for him to be afraid. Hearing how arrogant Linley was, some of the onlookers couldn't help but feel pity for Linley. In the end, those who wanted to speak up and explain themselves were all pushed far away, no longer paying any attention to Linley. They became mere spectators. "Humph, you're just a nobody. Let's see if you can't pay me back. Now you know how powerful I am." They were incomparably delighted. Thinking that Lin Rei was about to die, they couldn't help but become even more excited. "Guest, those who humiliate our union cannot be allowed to live. So, please, go to hell." The leader of the guards raised the long sword in his hand and placed it in front of his chest. Suddenly, sword intent filled the entire hall. Hiss. This sword intent is too strong. Such a person is actually a guard of the Union. Oh my God. Sword intent in the realm. This person's cultivation is too strong. I wonder which family's disciple he is from. If he can be accepted into the family, will they be able to obtain more resources for the city defense battle at the end of that year? TSK, not simple. Seeing the strength of the leader of the guards, there was no lack of people from the aristocratic families in the city. This kind of person was exactly what they needed. In a moment, everyone started to have ulterior motives. On the contrary, Lin Rei helplessly shook his head at the leader's decision. He felt that it was a pity that he made such an incorrect decision. In Lin Rei's eyes, he didn't care whether the other party was a simple genius or not. In his opinion, as long as the other party was on his must-kill list, even if the other party was the King of Heaven, even if the other party's father was Li Gang, it was useless. Looking at the young man, Lin Rei helplessly shook his head and sighed. His face was full of regret. "I really don't know how your brain is developed. Since you don't use your brain to think, then there's no point in keeping you." Whoosh. As he spoke, Lin Rei's figure suddenly disappeared. What? Of those present, only the guards were slightly stronger. Seeing the guards vanish, the leader of the guards sheathed his sword and looked around warily. How is this possible? How can this person be so fast? His cultivation can't be completed. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. Not good, this person's cultivation is very strong, quickly leave, Pucci. The sound of flesh being cut was heard, and at this moment, the guard leader's voice came to an abrupt halt. Feeling the pain coming from his throat, he looked in shock at Lin Rei, who had already appeared. He reached out and touched his neck. When he raised his hand to look, he saw a scarlet color appear, and a deathly gray color flashed in his eyes. Seeing the guard leader like this, Lin Rei glanced at him expressionlessly and then ignored him. He turned around and looked at the remaining people. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, revealing his bloodthirsty expression. How is this possible? How can this guy be so strong? His cultivation, this guy, even though he is in the Alchemy Guild, he actually dared to do such a thing. Could it be that he really doesn't want to leave the Alchemy Guild? It's too late, it's too late. Someone died in the Alchemy Guild and he wants to leave. The surrounding people were discussing incessantly. Lin Ray's strength was beyond their expectations. In their opinion, Lin Ray had no hope of surviving. Who would have thought that the situation would be reversed, and it would be so straightforward? Put on. At this moment, the guard leader regained his senses and looked at the guard leader's corpse. A chill ran down his spine. At this moment, he realized that he seemed to have offended someone extraordinary. Lin Ray ignored the surrounding people's discussion. He turned around and fixed his gaze on the guard leader on the ground. The bloodthirsty expression on his face became even more intense. Brat, I originally only wanted you to accompany your manager. Since you want to court death, I will fulfill your wish today. I will let you understand that there are some people in this world that you cannot afford to offend. Even if you are in the Alchemy Guild, so what? There are still some people that you cannot afford to offend. After he finished speaking, he took a step forward and appeared in front of the remaining guards. A sword ray flashed by and the corpses of the guards fell to the ground. Their deaths were exactly the same as the guard leaders. There was no difference at all. This is the Alchemy Guild. If you do this, the president will not let you off. Even when he was about to die, the guard leader was still using the power behind him as a bargaining chip to threaten Lin Ray. In Lin Ray's opinion, this was ridiculous. Shaking his head, he raised his head and looked at the Alchemy Guild. Manager of the Alchemy Guild, get the hell out here. 1 minute, I will only give you 1 minute. If I don't see you all, then, after taking a glance at the Alchemy Guild, he continued, the entire Alchemy Guild will be destroyed. From today onwards, the Alchemy Guild will no longer exist in Huanghui City. After he finished speaking, he lowered his head and looked at the guard leader. With a sneer, he said, today, I will let you know what kind of existence you have offended. The power that you think is extraordinary, in front of me, is nothing. Everyone was shocked by Lin Ray's words. He was trying to challenge the entire Alchemy Guild by himself. At the Alchemy Guild, sounds of furnaces exploding could be heard. Following the sounds of furnaces exploding, angry songs could be heard. In a room located in the deepest part of the Alchemy Guild, an old man's hand trembled and a piece of calligraphy was destroyed. Raising his head, he looked at the source of the sound with killing intent. How many years has it been? How many years has it been since someone dared to cause trouble in the Alchemy Guild? Putting down the writing brush in his hand, he walked out of the room and headed towards Lin Ray's location. As for the remaining upper echelons of the Alchemy Guild, they did not dare to delay and headed towards the source of the sound. Originally, it was just a business transaction. It was a very simple matter. But now, it turned out like this. To put it nicely, it was a business dispute. But to put it bluntly, it was just someone who had nothing better to do. It could have been resolved perfectly, but, releasing his divine sense, he sensed that more than 10 people were heading towards him. A smile appeared on his face. Today, he was going to make an example out of them. Thinking about it, the boss's family must have been suppressed by Lu Ding. Otherwise, it was impossible for these people to not recognize him. Glancing at the crowd, Lu Ding walked towards a table at the side and sat down. Looking at the guard leader who was sitting on the ground, he sneered, in a while, even if I don't do anything to you, I'm afraid that the powerful person behind you will cut you into pieces. Chapter 1336. Quietly, he waited for the group of people to arrive. As for the surrounding people, Lin Ray's cold and emotionless eyes made them tremble. They wanted to leave, but when they saw Lin Ray's cold eyes, their legs went soft and they did not dare to move. They were afraid that if they moved, their lives would no longer be their own. You guys. Looking at the crowd, Lin Ray said, do you want me to ask you to leave, or do you want to leave by yourselves? When he said that, everyone was stunned for a moment. Then, they regained their senses and nodded. There were even some people who looked at Lin Ray with gratitude and bowed. Senior, we will leave immediately. With that said, everyone rushed out of the door like a swarm of bees. At this moment, everyone was using all their strength. Even those aristocratic family members who had been drained of energy by the heat were using all their strength, afraid that Linley would go back on his word and kill them on the spot. Rumble, the ground started to shake because of everyone's escape. At this moment, no one was slow. In a blink of an eye, the entire Alchemy Guild's living room was empty. Only Lin Ray and that attendant were left. As for the remaining guards, they were all lying in a pool of blood. Scarlet blood was still flowing out from their bodies. The scene was very bloody. However, Lin Ray did not feel anything as he sat in the pool of blood. Instead, his bloodthirsty face made him look very eye-catching. Still not here? Within Linley's divine sense, that old man with the highest level of cultivation was walking at a leisurely pace. Suddenly, Linley frowned. Does this old fellow really think he's some sort of big shot? He was very disgusted with this kind of person who thought that he was invincible because of his seniority. Especially when the other party's people offended him, it was even more heinous. However, for the remaining people, it was still okay. Their speed was quite fast. In his divine sense, the closest person to him was only a dozen meters away. Soon, Kacha. The sound of the door opening was heard. Lin Ray turned his head and saw that the person closest to him had appeared. The person who walked out of the door was a woman, and it had to be said that she was a real beauty. However, even though his face was somewhat cold, his eyes did not show any contempt. On the contrary, he was looking at Lin Ray with great interest. It was as if he had developed a great interest in him. Seeing Lin Ray, the woman asked, You are the intruder that demanded our Alchemist Guild's upper echelons to scram out? Facing such a beautiful woman, it had to be said that Lin Ray still had some reaction. As the saying goes, a fair and graceful woman is a gentleman's dream. It would be abnormal if he didn't have any reaction. She nodded and replied, That's right. This sovereign is, the intruder who let you out? However, after saying that, Lin Ray paused for a moment. Then, with a serious expression, he corrected himself, This sovereign doesn't like intruders. Furthermore, this sovereign rarely comes here to buy spiritual herbs. It's your attendant who looks down on me and keeps on pressuring me. Unfortunately, this sovereign can only let you be the judge. After all, this sovereign is a person who travels the world with reason. After saying that, he glanced at the attendant who was paralyzed on the ground. His face was filled with killing intent. It was as if he wanted to kill the attendant at any moment. Emin? Seeing Lin Ray's actions, the woman's gaze swept over the attendant. The instant she saw him, she frowned. She remembered this attendant. He was a distant relative of a rank 5 alchemist. Lu Xian, a rank 5 alchemist. She was modest and kind. However, when it came to her distant relative, Fang Wenming, there was no such thing. Stealing chickens and touching dogs, a dog relying on its master's power. Thinking that his distant relative was Lu Xian, he did whatever he wanted in the Alchemist Guild. Regarding this, the upper echelons had also expressed their attitude. However, because of Lu Xian's status, in the end, they could only turn a blind eye to it. But, now, she was unable to detect Linley's cultivation, and there was only one possibility for this, and that was that Linley's cultivation was far stronger than she had imagined, and it was strong enough to go against the entire Alchemist Guild in Huanghui City. Regarding this, looking at the corpses that were flowing with blood, he understood why the other party had used the word scram to express himself earlier. It wasn't that he was conceited, arrogant, or ignorant. On the contrary, it was confidence. Incomparably strong confidence. In his eyes, the entire Huanghui City's alchemist guild was like an ant. Thinking until here, the woman took a deep breath and walked towards Lin Rei. She bowed and said respectfully, Junior Yuan Jun greets Senior. Heh, looking at Yuan Jun's reaction, Lin Rei smiled. He felt that this name was very interesting. Yuan Jun's reinforcements. It meant that she was the other party's reinforcements. Thinking about it, he felt that it was funny. For a moment, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He felt that this woman in front of him was even more interesting. Moreover, he could sense from the medicinal fragrance that the old man gave off that he was a third-grade emperor pill refiner in the saint's world. Her age wasn't very old. After checking, he found out that she was only a little over 1,300 years old. To be able to cultivate the alchemy Dao to such a level at such a young age, it could be seen that she was quite talented. Alchemist, the elixir you just refined is useless. So, take this elixir as your compensation. As he spoke, he took out a 9th grade Emperor Grade 6 Transformation Water Restoration Elixir and handed it to Yuan Jun. Oh? She lowered her head and looked at the elixir bottle in front of her. To be honest, as an alchemist, she didn't think that the elixir he took out would be better than hers. However, out of courtesy and the other party's point of view, she reached out and took it. This water restoration elixir can help you recover quickly when you're injured. At the same time, it can also replenish your lost spiritual qi. Oh, is that so? Yuan Jun replied. She raised her hand and looked at the elixir bottle. Her heart throbbed inexplicably. Do you want to take a look? This voice kept ringing in her heart. She was curious about the elixir in the bottle in her hand. Moreover, her heart ached when she thought of the elixir that was useless just now. The herbs in that cauldron of elixir were very precious. It took him almost 10 years to collect all of them. Now, they were all ruined by his voice. Thinking about it, she grabbed the bottle cap and used a little force to open it. Suddenly, a burst of elixir fragrance rushed out of the elixir bottle and filled the entire living room. Hiss, this is, as an alchemist, her first reaction after smelling the elixir fragrance was shock. She could feel that the elixir in the elixir bottle contained a very terrifying amount of energy. She poured the elixir into her hand. Suddenly, a blue elixir the size of a longan lay quietly on her palm. On the blue elixir, 9 eye-catching patterns appeared. Elixir patterns. Looking at the water-returning pill, Yuan Jun cried out in surprise. The excitement in her eyes made Linley, who was standing by the side, feel helpless. Another alchemy lunatic. After saying that, he shook his head with a bitter smile and pushed her to the side. He knew that she wouldn't listen to anything he said now. Get out here. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. A violent aura burst out from Lin Rei's body and rushed to the back left. Boom! With a booming sound, the entire wall, under Linley's berserk aura, exploded apart. PFFF. A figure flew out from behind the wall. In the air, the middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood. Plop! The middle-aged man fell to the ground. Coincidentally, he fell right under Lin Rei's feet. Oh, I didn't expect that the people of the Alchemy Guild would be so sneaky. I really underestimated you. After saying that, he turned around and looked around. The corner of his mouth curled up. His bloodthirsty expression was obvious. Do you want me to invite you all out, or do you all want to come out yourselves? At this moment, the higher-ups of the Alchemy Guild were all in different directions. The scene just now made them lose the will to come out. After seeing Wang Weisen's miserable state, they even wanted to leave this place. Their hearts were filled with fear towards Lin Rei. This was the first time they came into contact with someone with such strength. Just by relying on his violent aura, he was able to do this. Then, what was his true strength? With a series of twigs, the surrounding doors opened, and one figure after another walked out from within, finally appearing in Linley's field of vision. Looking at the appearance of the crowd, the attendant was so shocked that he lost consciousness. What the hell is going on? They were all existences that he once admired. They were all high and mighty alchemists that could change the fate of others with just a move of their hands. This was different from the impression he had of alchemists. He always thought that in Huanghui City, any one of the alchemists of the Alchemy Guild would be able to shake the heavens and earth. They were existences that all the aristocratic families would fight for. But now, his thoughts were overturned. Overturned completely and straightforwardly. Since you're here, let's talk. How should we deal with this matter? Looking at the old man at the edge, he was the strongest existence here. Of course, that was only limited to Huanghui City. Apart from him. Looking at Lin Rei's gaze, the old man's heart trembled. The killing intent that flashed past his eyes earlier was perfectly hidden. Killing intent towards such a powerful existence? What a joke. As long as Lin Fan didn't kill him, he would be thankful. At this moment, the old man didn't ask for anything else. He only asked for his life. After all, it was impossible for him to give up the Alchemy Guild that he had worked so hard to develop for so many years just for an ant. Thinking about this, his gaze locked onto the attendant who was sitting on the ground. The old man's killing intent towards him rose. If it wasn't for him, the Alchemy Guild wouldn't be in such a state. As for them, they wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Thinking about this, the killing intent in his heart became even stronger. Not only him, the other alchemists were the same. When had they ever suffered such humiliation? As for all of this, it was all because of an attendant who was nothing. How could they possibly allow him to live happily? Ant-like thing actually managed to anger this powerful lord. In that case, you can go and die. After saying that, he took a step forward and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already before the attendant. In his hand, he aimed his sword at the attendant's 4 limbs. I'll break your 4 limbs so that you can experience the despair before death. Remember, in your next life, don't do such a foolish thing again. Otherwise, you'll die miserably. Poochie, Poochie. A sword ray flashed past. 4 streaks of blood appeared. The attendant's 4 limbs were all severed. His 4 limbs flew out and fell to the side. Scarlet blood sprayed out from the severed limbs. The scene was extremely bloody. Ah! A miserable and hysterical cry of pain sounded from the attendant's mouth. His body fell to the ground because his 4 limbs were severed. He was in a very miserable state. As for the alchemists who were his distant relatives, although they wanted to help, when they thought about how they had offended an expert because of this, they immediately suppressed their desire to save him. When they thought about how the medicinal pellets they concocted would be ruined because of this, their hatred for the attendant grew even more. As for this relative of his, it was only on the surface. As for the specifics, he didn't know either. If it wasn't for the attendant coming of his own accord, he wouldn't have known that such a person existed at all. Now that he was dead, all troubles were over. In the future, he would no longer have to lose face because of his matters. You will die miserably. Enduring the pain, the attendant with a malevolent demon-like appearance looked at Lin Rei and gnashed his teeth as he spoke. The ruthless killing intent in his eyes was not concealed at all. If a person's gaze could kill, then Lin Rei would have been killed by the attendant's killing intent dozens of times. Humph, ant-like dog. You're about to die, yet you're still speaking such nonsense. The old man was dumbfounded. Seeing that the attendant was offending Lin Rei even more, he was unable to hold himself back anymore. He could not tolerate the attendant continuing to speak. Who knew if Lin Rei would take his anger out on the entire Alchemy Guild because of those words? Poochie with a flash of sword light, a thin and small wound appeared on the attendant's throat. The attendant's words came to an abrupt end. His eyes were fixed on a certain spot. His body was lying on the ground. His aura was scattered and his vitality was extinguished. He was dead. The attendant was dead. This matter would be left unsettled. Of course, Lin Rei didn't think so. After all, the Alchemy Guild had lost face today. Senior, this person will be dealt with. However, because this person is a member of the Alchemy Guild, it may not be so. Our guild will specially offer 100 muscle and bone strengthening pellets and 100 rank 6 spiritual herbs. How about it? This is too much. That's right. Putting aside the 100 muscle and bone strengthening pellets, 100 rank 6 spiritual herbs is too much. These rank 6 spiritual herbs aren't found anywhere. President, don't you think this is a bit too much? After all, these things belong to the Alchemy Guild. They have to hand it over to the Alchemy Guild for 100 years. Now, there's only half a year left until the deadline. Therefore, if they bring the Alchemy Guild's headquarters with them, the consequences are not something they can bear. Everyone sent their own messages to express their disapproval of the old man's actions. However, they didn't realize that Lin Ray didn't put the old man's words in his eyes at all. He might as well give something more practical to deal with these things. Looking at the old man's expectant eyes, Lin Ray smiled. Old man, it's not that I'm arrogant. Take a look at this thing. Then, tell me something else that will compensate me. As he spoke, he casually threw out a pill bottle. These few years, it was filled with something that couldn't be seen. It was a rank 9 venerable grade pellet. Yes, senior. The old man couldn't refuse. He took the pill bottle and opened it. The fragrance of the pill filled his mouth and nose. In an instant, he was stunned. His originally doubtful gaze turned into shock, excitement, and uncontrollable infatuation. This, Junior is ashamed. Chapter 1337. How is it? Do you think that the things you gave me are enough? Or do you think that I need the things you mentioned? The old man was dumbfounded. If he didn't see this bottle of water-returning pills, he wouldn't have thought that it was embarrassing. However, it was different now. He saw the water-returning pill and it was of such a high grade. He knew that he didn't have the ability to refine such a high-grade pill. Especially the pill patterns on the pill, it made him feel so ashamed that he wanted to die. Why would a person who could casually take out such a pill care about those lousy pills and 6-tier spiritual herbs? Heh, what a joke. Only a ghost would want that kind of trash. Thinking about the conditions that he used to expel the old man, he felt that it was ridiculous. If there was a hole in the ground, he would want to crawl into it. It was too embarrassing. Thinking about it, he raised his head and looked at Lin Ray. He cupped his hands and said, Senior, I was rash just now. As he spoke, he placed the pill bottle in his hands into his bosom. Senior, how about this? Tell me, what do you fancy in my alchemy guild? As long as you say it, this junior will definitely hand it over to you. Even if it's this junior's position as the alchemy guild's president, as long as you want it, this junior will willingly step down. President, you can't. That's right, President. If the higher-ups investigate this matter, we won't be able to bear the consequences. President, please think twice. You have never been a reckless person. Why are you so muddle-headed today? Reconsider. When the surrounding alchemists heard the old man's words, they were unwilling and tried to stop him. They were all red in the face. Hearing the discussion, the old man was stunned. He glanced at the crowd and said, All of you, shut up. Look at what you have become. What's wrong? Have I given you guys too much face that you've forgotten your surname and name? All of you are over 1,000 years old. In front of this senior, you have no right to speak. As he spoke, the president released his aura. It had to be said that he had a lot of authority as the president. When he roared, everyone fell silent. Their eyes darted around to avoid the old man's eyes, not daring to look him in the eye. All right, all of you, don't give in to me at all. Hurry up and scram. Go back and reflect on your actions. Without my orders, none of you are allowed to come out. Do you understand? Everyone's expression changed drastically, but no one dared to refute. They all nodded heavily. Understood, President. With that, he turned to leave. Even Yuan Jun, who had been addicted to the elixirs given by Lin Rei, was ready to leave. Seeing everyone turn around, Lin Rei frowned and said coldly, "Did I allow you to leave?" The moment these words came out, the old man's body trembled. Just now, he had been so focused on reprimanding that he had forgotten that Lin Rei was still here. When he thought of how powerful Lin Rei was, he broke out in a cold sweat. He bowed to Lin Rei and said, "Senior, Junior didn't want to, Yuan Jun, stay. The rest of you can scram." Before the old man could finish his words, he interrupted him. Yuan Jun? Me? Her? At this moment, whether it was the old man, Yuan Jun, or those arrogant alchemists, they were all stunned. What's going on? Yuan Jun was even more unaware. Her face was full of questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Say. Senior, Yuan Jun is still young. If she had offended you in any way, then, Junior will apologize to you here. Little Jun, sigh. Hearing the old man's nagging voice, Lin Rei shook his head helplessly. What the F***ck was he thinking? Didn't I just want a maid to serve me temporarily? It's not like I want to do anything to her. Seriously. Besides, do I look like a bad person? Do I look like a hooligan? Causing trouble. Thinking of this, he looked up at Yuan Jun with a serious and clear expression. He said indifferently, "Yuan Jun, I'm going to the secluded valley to participate in the Dragon Spring's secret realm. I need someone to take care of some trivial matters along the way. I wonder if you're willing to follow me." Of course. As a reward for your efforts during this period, I have a 9 Dragons branch technique here. It's specifically for alchemy. In order to ensure Yuan Jun's agreement, Lin Rei could only do this. Although he wasn't sure if the secret technique of the Holy World would work here, he still had to try. Yuan Jun hesitated. There was no reason, just because, in any case, this old lady is a real alchemist. Is there anyone like you? What do you take this old lady for? A maid? She couldn't help but think in her heart. However, she had an apologetic smile on her face. I'm sorry. I have something important to do during this period, so it's not convenient for me to be in my original form. So, I'm sorry, Senior. I might. She didn't continue. Hearing this, Lin Rei obviously understood what she meant. Thus, he shook his head helplessly and could only let it go. All right, since that's the case, I won't force you. As he spoke, his gaze landed on the old man again. He quickly said, "Today's matter, you can do as you see fit. I don't lack anything else, but I don't have much netherworld jade. You can give it to me as you see fit." After saying that, he turned around and walked out. When Lin Rei disappeared, his voice exploded in everyone's ears. You can find where I live. Remember, I don't care about low-grade netherworld jade. Oh, right. This time, I'm looking for a bloodline grass in your alchemy guild. If you have it, send it to me as per netherworld jade's wishes. If you don't have it, mobilize the entire alchemy guild. At the same time, inform your high-level alchemy guild that as long as you can help me find the bloodline grass, I promise to give you a 3rd grade Saint grade realm-breaking pellet. Remember, time is limited. If you exceed the time limit, I don't need to tell you the consequences. You should know in your hearts. After saying that, his voice became formless. Put on. After confirming that Lin Rei had left, the old man couldn't hold on any longer and sat down on the ground. At this moment, he was no longer as calm as before. Instead, he was in a sorry state. Do as you see fit. As for your big brother, just give me a random number. Do as you see fit. How do you want me to give you? If I give you too much, my heart will ache. If I give you too little, I'll suffer. What's the bloodline grass? Is it something special? For a moment, the old man was worried. He never thought that a day like this would come. President, why don't we ask the higher-ups? Otherwise, do we really have to do as that person said? The middle-aged alchemist on the side saw the old man in such a state and stepped forward to voice his opinion. Report? He turned to look at the middle-aged alchemist. Suddenly, his face turned cold. Didn't you see the other party's cultivation? I'm afraid that only the alchemy guild of a first-grade city can come forward to solve this. Moreover, I'm not sure if I can do it. Then what should we do? Are we, the alchemy guild, really going to give that person the nether jade? Moreover. At this point, the middle-aged alchemist scratched his head awkwardly and continued, we've never heard of the bloodline grass. Everyone, indeed, as alchemists, they had never heard of the bloodline grass. Forget it, we'll think of a way to deal with the nether jade ourselves. As for the bloodline grass, I'll write a letter to my good friends in a while and ask them to keep an eye out for it. As he spoke, his gaze swept across the alchemists around him. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. The bright expression in his eyes made everyone feel weak. President. President, if you have something to say, just say it. We're not used to you looking at us like this. The Origin Lord spoke up. That's right, President. It's better if you act like usual. We're not used to you being like this. That's right, that's right. Everyone nodded in agreement. In response, the old man rolled his eyes and returned to normal. He stretched out his hand and said to everyone, come on, don't help us. You've all heard what that senior said just now. We don't want low-grade nether jade, and middle-grade nether jade is not suitable either. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed and cursed in their hearts. Everyone knew what the old man was up to. However, they knew that it was not a wise move to make at this time. President, what are you talking about? Didn't you agree to give us the nether jade? Moreover, we're just alchemists. How could we have high-grade nether jade? Yes, high-grade nether jade is very precious. How could we have it? Even if we had it, it would be used for our cultivation. That's right, President. Don't tell me you're going to do the same. You promised us before. Isn't it inappropriate for you to look for us now? How about this? We don't have high-grade nether jade, but we have 500,000 low-grade nether jade. What do you think? Every time they said a word, the old man's face would turn gloomy. Now, when he heard the words 500,000 low-grade nether jade, his face turned cold. If expressions could freeze people to death, then the old man's cold expression could freeze everyone present to death. Are you sure you don't have it? No. Everyone nodded with certainty. They could throw away their integrity, but they couldn't give them high-grade nether jade. Good. Looking at everyone, the old man nodded and said with a "You've done a good job" expression, "Since you're all like this, then I won't care about your feelings anymore." As he spoke, a bill suddenly appeared in his hand. He flipped it open and looked at the alchemist who said he didn't have it. He read, Wang Pei, last year, you used the materials of the Alchemist Guild to refine elixirs. In the end, you made a deal with the Wang clan in the imperial capital and obtained 100,000 high-grade nether jade. You handed over 16,000 high-grade nether jade to the Alchemist Guild, and the remaining 84,000 are missing. Last year, you made a deal with the Lu clan in the imperial capital of the Tianshui Empire and obtained 260,000 high-grade nether jade. You handed over 60,000 high-grade nether jade, and the remaining 200,000 are missing. 2 years ago, stop. President, I suddenly feel that you did the right thing. When the Alchemist Guild is in danger, it is time for us to help. I'll give it to you. As he spoke, he hesitated and took out a storage ring. He handed it to the old man and said, President, there are 500,000 high-grade nether jade in here. Oh. 500,000? Looking at the storage ring, the old man narrowed his eyes. Looking at the old man's face, the alchemist wanted to cry. 500,000 high-grade nether jade, but it was still not enough. His heart was filled with bitterness, but he squeezed out an extremely ugly smile. He took out another storage ring and said, "President, this is the last of my savings. It adds up to 1 million high-grade nether jade. It's really the last of my savings." As he spoke, the alchemist didn't forget to wipe off 2 drops of tears. Looking at the 2 storage rings in his hand, the old man nodded with satisfaction. "That's enough. Although I know you have more than this, 1 million. It's almost enough." Hearing this, the alchemist burst into tears. While crying, he thanked the old man profusely. "Thank you, President. Thank you for showing mercy." As he spoke, he retreated to the side and felt sad. The old man put away the 2 storage rings and looked at the account book in his hand again. When he saw the words Yuan Jun on the account book, the old man smiled. Yuan Jun, I didn't expect you to have a share in this." This. Looking at the old man, Yuan Jun lowered her head awkwardly, not daring to look at the old man's eyes. "How is it? Do you want me to read it out for you? Although you don't have as much as before, but..." As he spoke, he flipped 2 pages and continued, "It doesn't seem to be much different." "No. No need, President." Seeing the old man like this, Yuan Jun didn't dare to let him continue. She reached out and took out a storage ring from her clothes. Handing it to the old man, she said, "President, there are 1 million high-grade nether jade in this ring." Seeing that Yuan Jun was so nimble, the old man didn't continue. His face flashed with a teachable expression. "Not bad, not bad." As he spoke, he closed the account book in his hand and glanced at the people around him. "How about it? Do you want me to read it out for you one by one, or do you want to hand over the nether jade obediently?" As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. They smiled bitterly and shook their heads. "It seems like we can't escape this round." As soon as he said this, everyone nodded in agreement. They walked up to the old man, took out their storage rings, and handed them to him. Of course, there was an exception among the dozen people. A young man walked up to the old man and took out a storage bag. "I don't have that much. There are 100,000 high-grade nether jade, 1 million mid-grade nether jade, and 3 million low-grade nether jade. Although I don't have as much high-grade nether jade as they do, I only have this much." As he spoke, he didn't care about the old man's strange figure. He retreated to a corner and didn't say anything. This kid. Looking at Wang Bingren, the old man smiled bitterly. Perhaps others had done corrupt things, but Wang Bingren had been refined in the mud. He was pure and flawless, and had not been infected by the filth of the mortal world. Imagining Wang Bingren's situation, the old man smiled and nodded. "All right, I know you don't have that much. This should be enough." As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned. They turned to look at Wang Bingren. Although they were unhappy, there was nothing they could do. After all, Wang Bingren hadn't done anything dirty like them. "That's enough." Seeing everyone looking at each other, the old man shook his head helplessly. "This matter ends here. As for this account book, this old man will automatically destroy it when the time comes. However, in the future, do your job well and don't do such things again. Otherwise, this old man will cripple all of you." Chapter 1338. "Yes, we will, we understand." Looking at everyone's fearful expression, the old man smiled and nodded. He waved his hand and said, "All right, there's nothing for you to do here. Since that's the case, we will take our leave first." After saying that, they bowed to the old man and turned around to leave. The old man did not stop them from leaving. Just when Yuan Jun and the others were about to disappear from the hall, the old man suddenly thought of something. "Oh, right, you should cultivate well during this period of time. After a while, it will be the alchemy exchange that happens once every 30 years. At that time, if you can win against the unions of other cities, then our union will get a lot of cultivation resources. Speaking of this, the old man squinted his eyes and said with a faint smile, I believe that you should know what those resources mean even if I don't tell you. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed. How could they not know that in the past, there was once an alchemist union of a 9th grade city? Because they won the championship of the alchemist exchange, they got a lot of cultivation resources. In the end, their union was promoted to an 8th grade city. After that, their future was unstoppable. Until now, it seemed that they had already reached the 6th grade. Although there was a gap of 3 grades between the 6th grade and the 9th grade, the gap between these 3 grades was like heaven and earth. If the 6th grade alchemist union got 10 resources every year, then the 9th grade alchemist union would only get 3 resources every year. Therefore, they attached great importance to the championship of this alchemist exchange. This was not only an opportunity for the union to be promoted, but also an affirmation of their future. They might be fancied by a master of the alchemist union and get a chance to learn from him in the end. Everyone nodded solemnly. After bowing to the old man, they turned around and left. This time, they would probably go into seclusion and not come out. As for the daily medicinal pills of the alchemist union, they would teach them to their disciples. As for the rest, they only needed to cultivate. Looking at the back of everyone leaving, a smile appeared on the old man's face. However, behind the smile, there was helplessness. It's not that easy to win the championship of the alchemist exchange. It's not just the 9th grade cities around us. This time, there are alchemists from other continents. Thinking of the notice given by the higher-ups, it seems that the young genius of Yu Province's Nia city, Nia Yuncheng, is also coming. When he thought of Nia Yuncheng and all the other alchemists in the Alchemist Guild, he could only shake his head helplessly. The gap between the two wasn't small. It was a huge gap. Forget it, I'll be at the bottom every year anyway. Thinking about his experience in the past, he shrugged helplessly and consoled himself. Alas! He sighed as he looked at the dozen or so storage rings in his hand, and his helpless expression disappeared, replaced by one of joy. At the very least, this matter has been resolved. As for that bloodline grass, we'll talk about it when we find it. As he thought of this, the pressure in his heart disappeared. He packed up and headed to his room. Due to the small incident today, the Apothecary Guild did not continue with its business. Instead, it chose to close its doors. As for the onlookers at the Alchemist Guild today, the old man wasn't worried at all. When they left, he sent people out to coerce and bribe those onlookers. In the end, he made them swear a Tao orthodoxy blood oath. Only then did he feel relieved. Otherwise, if today's matter were to spread out, his Alchemist Guild would have no place in Huanghui City in the future. As for the instigator of this matter, Lin Rei, he was currently strolling on the streets. Thinking of his actions just now, he felt that it was hilarious. I didn't expect that this overlord would get angry over such a small matter. Although that was what he said, the smile on his face was enough to tell that this fellow did not regret his actions at all. In fact, he was very happy. Faced with Lin Rei's incomparable words, in the end, the system couldn't recognize him and stepped forward to ridicule him. Host, as the host system, this system feels extremely humiliated. Lin Rei, he didn't say anything. He believed that if he were to say anything, the system would definitely continue to criticize him until he started doubting his life. However, Lin Rei was at a loss for words. Even if he didn't say anything, the system still didn't have the intention to stop. Host, tell me, is there a need to go to such lengths for such a small benefit? Coercion and bribe, you're really good at it? Others might not know, but the system was very clear about the reason why Lin Rei got angry earlier. Yes, perhaps he was really angry. However, that was only a part of it. Among the reason why he got angry, a part of it was because of the nether jade. After all, the nether jade was extremely precious. At the very least, that was how Lin Rei felt. If he had known earlier, a drop of Zhu's blood essence was enough to buy a small nether jade mine. He really wanted to see what kind of energy a pile of high-grade nether jade mine would contain. More importantly, he wanted to use the nether jade mine to exchange for points so that he could repay the money he owed the system in the future. Hearing the system's incessant nagging, Lin Rei couldn't bear to listen to it anymore. He rolled his eyes and said angrily, "That's enough, stop nagging like a sissy. It's because I have no other choice." At this moment, Lin Rei transformed into a resentful woman and began to voice out the complaints that had been in his heart for a long time to the system. "System, you can speak. As the owner of the system, I don't have the authority to say anything about this matter. Let's talk about the lottery." "Lottery? What's wrong with the lottery? Is there a problem?" The system was stunned. It was a little confused by Lin Rei's words that came out of nowhere. "Nonsense, of course there is." Lin Rei began to operate the system. "Think about it, how long has it been since I last had the chance to draw a lottery? You also said that you want me to increase my cultivation, but you didn't even give me the chance to draw a lottery. Tell me, what do you want me to do? I don't even have the privilege to buy things, and I still owe you more than 500 million points. Tell me." The more Lin Rei spoke, the more he felt that he had been cheated. How was this King cheat? It was obviously King ancestor, alright? However, after the system heard this, it fell silent. Although Lin Rei's words were a little unreasonable, it was the truth. The lottery system had indeed stopped operating for too long. Moreover, some of the usual missions hadn't been issued. Other than some main missions, side missions and special triggered missions seemed to have appeared very rarely. In fact, some of them had never appeared at all. What's wrong? Do you think that this sovereign is right? Seeing that the system didn't say anything, Lin Rei continued happily. Just like this, he walked and complained. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Perhaps Lin Rei was tired and thirsty, he finally stopped. "So, system, hurry up and check what's going on. I don't want to be cheated until the day my cultivation path ends. It's very tiring." Chapter 1339. F***CK. When the system heard Linley's words, it rolled its eyes, spat out 2 words, and didn't say anything else. If Lin Rei's words were heard by some old guys, they would probably vomit blood in anger. Other people might not even be able to break through to the immortal realm after cultivating for 10,000 years. Even the peak of the immortal realm was unknown. King broke through to the sage realm in less than 5,000 years. Why don't you go to heaven? Seeing the system turn off, Lin Rei didn't continue. He came back to his senses and looked up. He saw people coming and going on the street. At this moment, he didn't know where he was. "I didn't expect that I would get lost." Looking at the scene in front of him, Lin Rei couldn't help but shake his head with a bitter smile. At this moment, if Lin Rei's past enemies knew that he was lost, they would jump out of their coffins and fight him to the death. Forget it. Since I'm here, there's no harm in taking a look. After all, I'll be leaving in 2 days. Thinking about it, he didn't think too much. With a smile on his face, he walked forward. This street was very long. If it weren't for his eyesight, he might not have been able to see the end. On both sides of the street, shops like this stood in great numbers. They sold medicinal pills, spirit herbs, refining materials, array formation materials, and everything else. There were even shops that bought things obtained from demonic beasts. Of course, there were even more restaurants. However, looking around with his divine sense, in the restaurants here, the ingredients used for cooking were all demonic beasts and spiritual herbs. It was conceivable that the price was probably not that cheap. Of course, expensive naturally had its benefits. A dish was full of spiritual energy. If one's strength was low, eating a dish might be able to recover their usual consumption and even improve their cultivation. Looking at these, Lin Rei couldn't help but click his tongue. Although there were also such things in the holy world, when he was there, he just strolled around the yellow region. Suddenly, the system said, "Host, this place has starry sword grass. Quickly buy it and refine it into a sword pill. It's good for your sword Dao." Starry sword grass? Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei's expression froze. He turned his head and swept his gaze across the surrounding shops. He was speechless. "Big brother, don't just talk. Tell me where it is." He laughed bitterly in his heart. "The one on the left is called Rueda's Spiritual Pharmacy." His gaze followed the system's instructions and fell on the shop called Rueda's Spiritual Medicine Shop. He understood. "Okay, I got it." After muttering to himself, he stepped into Rueda's Spiritual Medicine Shop. The moment he entered the shop, the fragrance of medicinal herbs and dense nether energy assaulted his nostrils. Sensing the concentration of spiritual energy within, Zhang Xian realized that it was at least 4 to 5 times stronger than the outside world. For a moment, his disdain for the small shop before him was replaced with wariness. If the system said that it was good, then it was naturally good. The fact that the star swordgrass could appear in this shop was even more proof of the shop's background. "Yo, little brother, what do you want to buy from my Rueda Spiritual Medicine Shop?" Just as Lin Rei was sizing up the entire store, a young man's voice sounded from the front. Young man? This voice was very attractive and magnetic. Moreover, from the voice, Zhang Xian could tell that the other party was a young man. Moreover, his cultivation was not bad. Star Ancestor Realm Cultivation. TSK, not bad. Experts are indeed among the common people. I didn't expect that a small pharmacy would not only have the star swordgrass, but also have the strength of a star ancestor. Zhang Xian thought to himself, but his face remained expressionless as he cupped his hands. "Sir, are you the owner of Rueda's Spiritual Medicine Shop?" Zhang Xian asked with uncertainty. Hearing this, the young man kept a smile on his face and nodded. "That's right. I am Yi Xiang. Rueda is mine. May I know what this customer is looking for?" Looking at Yi Xiang, Lin Rei had good intentions. After all, this little shop owner was not like the others who said that the things here were the best. Zhang Xian glanced at the young man and scanned the shop. Finally, his gaze fixed on the potted plant behind the young man. Vigorous sword intent. Is this the star swordgrass? Looking at the potted plant, Lin Rei guessed. Naturally, Yi Xiang could sense Lin Li's gaze. Seeing Lin Li so passionate about his starlight swordgrass, he couldn't help but feel a bit amused. Right now, he understood that the reason Lin Li had come here was most likely for the sake of his stellar swordgrass. "Little shop owner, I don't want anything else here. Give me that thing. You can name the price," Zhang Xian said while pointing at the star swordgrass. As expected. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Yi Xiang confirmed his thoughts. With the same smile on his face, he shook his head and rejected Lin Rei's offer. "I'm sorry. I can sell you everything here except for this star swordgrass." Hearing this, Lin Rei was startled. He looked at Yi Xiang with interest and asked, "Why?" Little shop owner is also a businessman. Shouldn't profit be the first thing to consider when doing business? Now, such a good opportunity is in front of you. As long as you name the price, I will definitely give it to you. Why do you choose not to? Indeed, this was the point that Lin Rei was puzzled. After all, a businessman would choose not to give up in front of such benefits. This puzzled him. Moreover, he could feel that the young man did not have the slightest sword intent. Therefore, he eliminated the possibility that the young man needed to strengthen his sword intent. No reason. It's just that this potted plant is useful to me. As for its use, I don't think I need to tell you. You said that a businessman should prioritize profit. Indeed, you are right. Unfortunately, you missed something. What is it? Lin Rei asked. Looking at Lin Rei, He tapped his finger on the counter in front of him and said indifferently, "Although I'm in a shop, I'm not a businessman." Hearing this, Lin Rei understood. However, Lin Rei did not want to give up on the star swordgrass. After all, it was useful to him. Thinking of this, his gaze fell on the star swordgrass. Thinking of the sword core, his heart inexplicably throbbed. His desire to obtain the star swordgrass grew even stronger. "Little shop owner, look, your star swordgrass is just sitting there. Why don't we work together?" Since he couldn't buy it, taking it by force was not his style. Working together like this was the most appropriate method. Hearing this, Yi Xiang's interest was also piqued. "Tell me, what kind of cooperation?" "Of course, I'm just listening. I don't plan on cooperating with you." "Of course." Lin Rei did not insist. However, he believed that if Yi Xiang really wanted to use the star swordgrass, there were only two choices. One was to use it for himself, and the other was to give it to someone else so that they could improve their sword Dao. "Give me the star swordgrass. After I refine it into a sword core, I only need 2. The rest of the sword core can be given to you." Then, as if he had forgotten something, he quickly added, "A sword core is a kind of pill that can improve one's sword Dao. Of course, it can also allow someone who isn't a sword cultivator to quickly become a sword cultivator and possess sword intent." Chapter 1340. Sword Core. Hearing this unfamiliar medicinal pill, Yi Xiang had a hesitant expression. He'd heard of other medicinal pills, and the only medicinal pill he knew could be refined from the stellar swordgrass was the Grand Space Pill. Moreover, its medicinal properties weren't much better than the effects of the sword pill, but the Grand Space Pill wasn't a pill that could directly increase the user's sword intent. Instead, it could grant the user the aptitude to cultivate the sword Dao. As for the sword pill that Linley spoke of, which could directly increase the efficacy of one's sword intent, he had never heard of it before. Looking at the doubt in Yi Xiang's eyes, Lin Rei suddenly understood that Yi Xiang didn't know about the sword core. After all, they weren't in the Holy World. Moreover, even if they were in the Holy World, there was no guarantee that the Alchemy Union would know about the existence of the sword core. After all, the sword core came from the system. As the saying goes, anything produced by the system must be of high quality. He believed that the pill formula given by the system must have been modified, or even a pill formula from a higher cultivation civilization. Understanding Yi Xiang's thoughts, Lin Rei relaxed. After all, it wasn't that Yi Xiang didn't agree, but that he didn't know about the sword core and its effects. Thinking, how about this? As he spoke, he poured his spiritual sense into his storage ring and picked out 2 second-grade saint-grade weapons. One was the heavenly water fan, and the other was the absolute tyrant spear. He handed them to Yi Xiang and continued, "These 2 weapons are top-notch existences. I believe that even in the netherworld, there aren't many of them." Seeing that Yi Xiang didn't take them, he directly stuffed them into Yi Xiang's hands and continued, "I use these 2 weapons as treasures. Everything that the narrator said is true. If there are even a few words of lies in your words, be careful that your heart demon will devour your body and your cultivation will be exhausted. How about it?" As he spoke, he stared at Yi Xiang, as if he wanted to see something from Yi Xiang's eyes. At this moment, Yi Xiang was indeed hesitating. Facing the 2 weapons in his hands, he could feel the dense killing intent and intimidating pressure coming from them. However, with the stellar swordgrass existence, he couldn't take the slightest risk. After all, this was his last chance. Yi Xiang did not give a decision for a long time. Lin Rei's heart tightened. He was also speechless to the extreme towards Yi Xiang's hesitation. "Little boss, tell me your conditions. As long as you let me refine the sword pill, I will agree to any other conditions. Cultivation methods, battle techniques, spells, array Dao, alchemy Dao, talisman Dao, tools Dao, as long as you want it, I can give it to you." At this moment, Lin Rei could be said to have given everything he had, just to be able to obtain the star's sword grass behind Yi Xiang. That thing, after passing through this village, it was not certain if there would be a shop for it. Therefore, he did not dare to take the risk. After all, the system said that he had to get it. Therefore, he had to get it even if he had to give it his all. Sure enough, when Yi Xiang heard Lin Rei's words, the hesitation in his eyes disappeared. How is it? What kind do you want? As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xiang with blazing eyes, as if he was a piece of delicious luncheon meat, making people unable to stop looking at him. Yi Xiang opened his mouth, raised his head to look at Lin Rei, and said resolutely, "It's not impossible for me to give you the star's sword grass, but, say it, say it." Lin Rei urged. He was extremely excited. Seeing Lin Rei so excited, he licked his brows, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He continued, "Protect me, I want to go to the Central Continent to participate in the Central Continent Sword Sect's entrance examination. As for the sword pill you mentioned, I hope to be able to refine it within this period of time." Oh. Lin Rei was slightly hesitant. Although he did not know where the Central Continent was, refining the sword pill was not only possible with the star's sword grass, it also needed to gather heavenly treasures of the same level. As such, it was not wise to rashly agree to the other party's request, especially the content of the oath just now. If it was really so, then, of course, although he knew that he was not controlled by the Tendo and the Great Tao, who would want to bear the infamy of being a shameless villain for his entire life? Ding. Side mission: accept Yi Xiang's request and protect him to the Central Continent so that he can successfully become a disciple of the Sword Sect. Mission reward: Star's Sword Technique, 30 million exchange points. F***CK. Hearing the sudden mission issued by the system, Lin Rei cursed without any culture. It was not that he wanted to, but that he had no choice but to do so. Originally, he still had the leeway to refuse, but now, not to mention leeway, he had nothing left. He could only rush forward with his hot-bloodedness. After all, it was not easy for a mission to come, and the mission reward was so generous. Now, Lin Rei was short of money. Although 30 million exchange points was only a drop in the bucket for the repayment of 500 million, but it was better than nothing. It was better than nothing. Thinking about it, he felt a little better. Nodding, he responded to the system and said, "Accept the mission." Ding. Congratulations to the host for accepting the mission. I hope the host can exceed the quota. If so, the system will give a reward that exceeds the reward. Hearing this, Lin Rei's eyes shone with green light. At this moment, he was very sensitive to the reward. However, what the hell was a special reward? Hey, system, what's the special reward you're talking about? Okay. The system used silence to represent its thoughts and will. Regarding this, Lin Rei was speechless. Okay, since that's the case, then. Exiting the system, he looked at Yi Xiang with a smile and said, "Okay, I promise you. I promise to accompany you to the Central State Sword Sect. I will guarantee your safety on the way and help you enter the Sword Sect." Hearing this, Yi Xiang smiled. He was not a wishy-washy person. Seeing that Lin Rei had agreed to his request, he casually took the two weapons in Lin Rei's hands and revealed a satisfied expression. "So, shouldn't you give the star's sword grass to me?" Seeing that Yi Xiang did not move, Lin Rei said anxiously. Oh, okay, right now?" When she came back to her senses, she hurriedly handed the potted plant over to Linley. Her expression was full of reluctance. When he first established the Rueda Spiritual Medicine Workshop, he wanted to use the spirit energy here to nurture the star's sword grass. Now, 100 years had passed, and the star's sword grass had to be given away. How could he be willing to part with it? Lin Rei naturally saw the reluctance in Yi Xiang's eyes and felt an inexplicable sense of sympathy. However, when he thought about what he had done, his sympathy instantly disappeared. He reached out and snatched the star's sword grass from Yi Xiang's hands. "Don't worry, I will naturally keep my promise. However, you must follow me during this period of time. During this period of time, I will collect the spirit herbs needed to refine the sword pill and prepare to refine it. As he spoke, his originally smiling face revealed a trace of worry. If he had encountered the star's sword grass earlier, he might not have agreed to Wuyo's invitation to go to the valley to observe the ceremony. Chapter 1341. Previously, I promised the forgotten sorrow of the secluded valley that I would go to the secluded valley to observe the opening ceremony of the Dragon Spring's secret realm. Therefore, before going to the Central Plains, you must first accompany me to the secluded valley. Of course. As he spoke, the corners of his mouth rose and a smile flashed. He continued, I won't let you accompany me for nothing. During this period of time, I will teach you a sword technique. You? Sword technique? Yi Xiang looked at Lin Rei with a strange expression. In the entire underworld, the sword sect was the most famous sect in the way of the sword. As for the sword technique that Lin Rei mentioned, it was obvious that he looked down on it from the bottom of his heart. What the F***ck? What? In the world, only the sword sect is allowed to know the way of the sword. Only the sword sect's way of the sword is allowed to be victorious. Only the sword sect's sword technique is allowed to be powerful. For a moment, Lin Rei was furious. Back in the sect, those who could be taught sword techniques by him were lined up from the Xuanzong sect's secret realm to the entrance of the Xuanzong sect. Although the myriad sword technique was not a high-grade technique, its power was not to be underestimated. When he fully unleashed the myriad sword technique, a gigantic sword would appear. Even when he fought against a Dao fruit saint or an early earth sage in the holy world, it would not lose out to him. Now, he did not expect to be discriminated against by a small cultivator in the underworld. How could he tolerate this? As he thought about it, he became angrier. He reached out and grabbed Yi Xiang's collar. Then, with a wave of his hand, a spatial crack appeared. Lin Rei rushed in with Yi Xiang. In the sky above a mountain range 100 miles away from Huanghui City, spiritual energy suddenly gathered. Then, a spatial crack appeared. Lin Rei and Yi Xiang, who had disappeared from the Rueda Spiritual Medicine Clinic, walked out of the crack. At this moment, Yi Xiang, who was held in Lin Rei's hand, was dumbfounded. His eyes were wide open as he stared in front of him. His gaze was filled with shock. The scene of Lin Rei tearing space was too shocking. It could be said to be an existence that destroyed 3 views. Even experts in the crepe myrtle realm had not reached the level of tearing space. However, the young man in front of him had done it. If that was the case, how powerful was his cultivation? Lin Rei didn't care about it at all. At this moment, he only wanted to prove to this little boss that his sword technique was absolutely not inferior to the sword sect's. At that thought, he tossed the young man aside. Thanks to Lin Rei's Holy Spirit Qi, the young man didn't fall to the ground. Moreover, after becoming a spiritual grandmaster, the young man was able to fly at low altitudes for a short period of time, so, Lin Rei's gaze was unkind as he looked at little boss. He snorted coldly and said, "Stinking brat, watch carefully. Is the sword sect in your heart stronger, or is my sword technique stronger?" Without waiting for little boss Yi Xiang's reply, a second-grade saint-grade long sword appeared in his hand. Suddenly, the sword intent hidden in his body was activated. Boom! The originally clear and boundless sky was suddenly covered by dark clouds. The sun in the horizon was also covered by the dark clouds. What's going on? Yi Xiang, who was awakened by the strange phenomenon, raised his head to look at the dark clouds in the sky. He was surrounded by vigorous sword intent. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. He lowered his head and looked at the source of the sword intent. He saw Lin Rei bathing in the soaring sword intent. The 1-meter-long sword in his hand moved. "Stinking brat, watch carefully. This is my sword technique, the innumerable swords technique." With that, he waved his sword. It was simple, without any fancy movements. The sword slid through the air, following the innumerable sword's technique's trajectory. The first move of the innumerable sword's technique, one sword breaks all techniques. Suddenly, the 3-foot-long cold light flashed out, and Linley's entire body was filled with sword energy. One illusory sword after another, similar to the long sword in Linley's hand, appeared in a dense cluster around Linley's body. Watch carefully. The first move may be simple, but it's unstoppable and unstoppable. With that, as if he was intentionally reminding Yi Xiang, he suddenly swung his sword at the mountain below. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, the rain-like sword shadows rushed towards the mountain. The speed was so fast that it made people speechless. This speed? From Yi Xiang's point of view, he didn't even know when the densely packed illusions disappeared. He only heard a rumbling sound from below. Immediately, the rumbling sound appeared. Suddenly, the sky was filled with dust, as if it was going to cover the entire mountain. Aoo, aoo. Aoo, in the mountain, when the wild beasts and vicious beasts felt the terrifying sword chi, and even the pressure and the tremors of the earth, they began the most terrifying escape of their lives. Hiss, looking at the various phenomena below, Yi Xiang couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His face was gradually filled with shock. His eyes were wide open, and his entire person seemed to have entered a different state. Humph, I won't scare you to death. Looking at Yi Xiang's current appearance, he felt so good that he wanted to die. Imagining Yi Xiang's disdainful look before, he felt even better. The second move of the myriad sword arts, Sky Break. Although he felt good in his heart, Lin Rei didn't have the intention to stop. He used the second move of the myriad sword arts. Suddenly, an even more powerful sword chi appeared, and a terrifying pressure instantly pressed down on Yi Xiang's body. If it wasn't for Lin Rei's Holy Spirit chi, the current Yi Xiang would have been suppressed to death by Lin Rei's pressure. Go! The long sword was waved, and the sword chi in the sky received the order. It was directed at the same place below. Rumble, rumble, rumble once again, the earth trembled, and the originally inconspicuous smoke and dust in the sky became even denser. Looking at the scene before him, Lin Rei didn't continue. Although he wasn't under the control of the Tendo and the Great Tao, it wasn't impossible for the Tendo and the Great Tao to suppress him if he acted recklessly. Moreover, Lin Rei felt that his knowledge of the underworld wasn't enough, especially the existence of the sealer. He didn't want his strength to be detected by such a cultivator. If that was the case, he believed that he would be treated as an outsider and suppressed in the same way as he suppressed Zhu. If that was the case, who could he reason with? At that time, even if the system took action, there wouldn't be much left of him. When he thought of this, the sword intent which had filled the heavens and the earth instantly retracted, as did his cultivation base. In the sky, the dark clouds which had filled the air slowly dissipated as Lin Li retracted his cultivation base and sword intent. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Suddenly, a series of rumbling sounds could be heard from below. Lin Li lowered his head to look, only to see a horde of beasts charging towards a safe area, far away from where Lin Li was. They were afraid that if they weren't careful, they would be implicated. Therefore, they could only choose to move their entire clan. Looking at the fleeing figures below, Lin Rei sighed helplessly and shook his head. I didn't expect to bring them such trouble. Chapter 1342. He felt extremely guilty, but it was survival of the fittest, the strong were respected, and the fittest survived. There was nothing he could do about it, the rules were like that. Lin Rei didn't continue. He turned his head to look at Yi Xiang and said, "All right, don't just stand there. It's time to go back." As he spoke, he waved his sleeve towards the space in front of him. Suddenly, a spatial crack that was as big as his height appeared. He stretched out his hand and his palm turned into a claw. A terrifying suction force appeared. For a moment, Yi Xiang's body uncontrollably returned to the state he was in before. Lin Rei grabbed him by the collar and stepped into the spatial crack. In the next moment, a spatial crack appeared in the same position as before in Rueda's spiritual medicine clinic. Lin Rei and Yi Xiang reappeared. Now, you know how powerful I am, right? As he spoke, he sat down. With a casual wave of his hand, a cup of tea floated and landed in Lin Rei's hand. He drank it in one gulp and spoke with a proud expression. He turned around and came back to his senses. At this moment, he had a deep understanding of Lin Rei's strength. He was absolutely powerful, especially the spatial crack just now. It was the first time he had heard of such a method. Even the sword sect might not have someone who could do it. Moreover, the sword technique Lin Rei used before was even more powerful. The way he used 10,000 swords had truly caused his entire body to tremble. Wasn't that the way of the sword he wanted? With a plop, before Lin Rei could react, Yi Xiang directly knelt down with a sincere expression. He cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Senior, please accept a bow from me." What are you doing?" Yi Xiang's sudden arrival made Lin Rei a little unable to bear it. He felt flattered, especially when compared to his previous attitude and expression. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. "Master, I've made up my mind. I won't go to the sword sect. I want to acknowledge you as my master." As he spoke, he repeatedly addressed Linli as master, and didn't stop kowtowing to Linli. It was as though Linli was already his master. However, at this moment, Lin Rei was dumbfounded. What the F***ck is going on? Earlier, he'd merely wanted to prove that his sword Dao wasn't inferior to the sword sect, and he'd never thought of taking a disciple. Furthermore, to be honest, this Yi Xiang's aptitude was a bit lacking. Although his standards for accepting disciples did not look at this, but regarding Yi Xiang's temperament, he could not stand it. Moreover, this was the underworld. He would have to leave this place sooner or later. If he brought it back to the saints' world, just the conversion of spiritual qi would be difficult. After all, although the underworld qi here was similar to the Holy Spirit qi in the saints' world, it was still different. More importantly, this guy had looked down on Lin Rei several times just now. Of course, all of this could be said to be an excuse. The reason Lin Rei didn't want to take Yi Xiang as his disciple was really because he wanted to send Yi Xiang to the sword sect so that Yi Xiang could complete his assignment. At that time, the bridge would be the bridge, and the road would be the road. From then on, the Jianghu would forget about each other, and they would not owe each other anything. Many things and thoughts flashed through his mind. In the end, he looked at Yi Xiang with a serious expression and said cautiously, "Yi Xiang, this matter isn't as simple as you think. Follow your heart. The sword sect that you yearned for will be realized very soon. You must not waver your heart here." As he spoke, he turned around and didn't say anything else. He didn't want to continue. Otherwise, if Yi Xiang said something even more outrageous, it would be embarrassing for everyone. With a single step, his body appeared tens of meters away. Then, with another step, he'd completely disappeared from Yi Xiang's line of sight. Yi Xiang sighed with a slightly dejected expression as he watched Lin Rei leave. "Remember, I'll call you when I leave. At that time, I hope that you'll be able to understand the matters that you haven't settled during this period of time. Perhaps it'll be too late to meet them again and again." Just when Yi Xiang was feeling extremely dejected, Lin Rei's voice suddenly sounded by his ear. Suddenly, his originally dejected figure disappeared. "Although I wasn't able to take you as my master, I believe that your things will definitely benefit me greatly during this period of time on the road." Thinking about it, even though he still felt a little disappointed, he felt much better than before. On the street outside, Lin Rei spoke. He heaved a sigh of relief and a smile flashed across his face. "I didn't expect that with just a little move, it would make a young man so infatuated that he'd give up his dream of becoming the sword sect and turn around to become his disciple." Imagining Yi Xiang's serious expression just now, Lin Rei smiled bitterly. "We're in the netherworld now. If we were in the holy world, it would probably be even worse." After imagining it, he shook his head and threw those things to the back of his mind. Then, his relaxed mood returned. When he looked at the things around him, he didn't feel as depressed as before. Huanghui City is just like this. Although I've obtained the starry sword grass by chance, it's very difficult for me to obtain a heavenly treasure that complements the starry sword grass in Huanghui City. If I want to refine pills, I still need to go to some high-grade cities and get the help of the Alchemist Union and the Treasure Hunter Union. Otherwise, I really don't know when the sword pill will be refined. Thinking of what he promised Yi Xiang, he felt a headache. His originally relaxed mood instantly became very bad. System, tell me, what kind of cities in the netherworld have the remaining heavenly treasures? 8th grade? 7th grade? 4th, 5th, and 3rd grade cities? If I haven't refined them before Yi Xiang enters the sword sect, then, the mission will be 3rd rank. The system opened its mouth and reminded him in a neutral tone. 3rd grade? Hearing this, Lin Rei frowned. His face was filled with coldness. In the netherworld, the division of regions was very clear. The overall strength of a 3rd grade city was very strong. There were many clans and forces in it. It was very complicated. I've already said very little about 3rd grade cities. If you want to believe me, a 1st grade city will be the best choice. After all, the most outstanding people in the netherworld are gathered there. Lin Rei was speechless. Lin Rei didn't want to talk anymore. If he wanted to go to a 1st grade city, he would have gone there long ago. Entering the netherworld was just a coincidence. As for a 1st grade city, if he didn't protect Yi Xiang when he entered the sword sect, he probably wouldn't have gone to a high-grade city with Yi Xiang. The system suggests that we take it one step at a time. Who knows, we might be able to collect all the heavenly treasures needed to refine the sword pill as we walk. Look, isn't the star sword grass here today? I was just casually walking around and I encountered this kind of thing. Should I say that the host's luck is good or that the system's luck is great? You're really shameless. Lin Rei had already accepted the system's suggestion in his heart. Moreover, he also planned to do so. He would take one step at a time, push the boat with the current, and leave it to fate. Chapter 1343. After Lin Rei ended his conversation with the system, he walked around the streets and casually bought some interesting items. Then, he returned to the restaurant. Lin Rei returned to the entrance of the restaurant and scanned the entire restaurant with his consciousness. Suddenly, he was startled and a complicated expression appeared on his face. Within Lin Li's divine sense, Zhu was seated at the dining table, earnestly saying something to a young man. What puzzled Lin Li was that this young man was none other than Yi Xiang, whom he had parted from not too long ago. Damn, why is this little guy here? Furthermore, naturally, he would not think that Zhu and Yi Xiang knew each other. After all, he had just rescued Zhu. If that was not the case, the actions of those two would inevitably cause others to be puzzled. As for the scarlet flaming tiger, Yi Xiang was sitting at another table and eating the food in front of him. In the end, the scarlet flaming tiger's intelligence was only that of an 8 or 9-year-old. At the very most, it would not exceed the intelligence of an 11-year-old. Naturally, it was very fond of food. Furthermore, the food on the table was all infused with nether chi. There was no need to think about it to know that they were all delicacies made from the flesh and blood of demonic beasts. When he saw this scene, Lin Rei shook his head helplessly. He took a step forward and instantly appeared before Zhu and Yi Xiang. Brother Lei, you're back. The scarlet flaming tiger, who was eating, suddenly sniffed. A familiar scent appeared. It was a scent that it was very familiar with. When it turned around, it saw Lin Rei's figure. It casually threw the food in its hand to the ground and arrived before Lin Rei in a flash. Then, it smiled and said happily. Zhu and Yi Xiang had naturally sensed it as well. However, when they saw Lin Rei's arrival and Zhu and the scarlet flaming tiger's attitude, they were dumbfounded. What? So these people knew each other. This was the only thing that Yi Xiang wanted to know. Speaking of which, this was how fate worked. Just a moment ago, Lin Rei had rejected Yi Xiang's request to become his disciple. However, in the next moment, everything had gone beyond his expectations. Little tiger, look at you. Look at how you're eating. Don't you know how to be more reserved? If you act like this, will that beauty still like you in the future? As he spoke, he continued, could it be that our little tiger wants to be single for the rest of his life? Zhu turned to look at Lin Rei with interest. After being together for so long, this was the first time she had seen such an interesting side to Lin Rei. Brother Lei, I'm not eating anymore. I'm going to wash up. As soon as he finished speaking, the scarlet flaming tiger was nowhere to be seen. Lin Rei didn't mind it and waved his hand at the waiter, who was waiting in the distance. Clean up this table, calculate the price, and merge it with this table. Without waiting for the waiter to respond, Lin Rei sat down and stared at the two of them. He seemed to be sizing them up, trying to see the subtle relationship between them. He could feel that Zhu was looking at Yi Xiang with a burning gaze, as if he was a prey that had been waiting for 10 days, waiting for the other party to lose focus at any time. The three of them didn't speak. Each of them had their own thoughts. The atmosphere in the hall started to become abnormal. Lin Rei and Zhu were still fine. However, Yi Xiang wasn't as relaxed as before. Speak, what's going on? Why are you here? If I remember correctly, you just left not long ago. In the end, Lin Rei opened his mouth and broke the oppressive atmosphere. He stared at the two of them, waiting for their response. He believed that what was going to happen next would be very interesting. Sure enough, as soon as this thought appeared, Zhu's voice changed. I want to take the real guy as my disciple. Oh, you want to take Yi Xiang as your disciple? Back then, what? You want to take that stinking brat Yi Xiang as your disciple? In the beginning, Lin Rei didn't come back to his senses. However, when he came back to his senses, the entire hall became lively. What's wrong? Why are you so excited? Seeing Lin Rei's startled appearance, Zhu rolled her eyes and said unhappily. No. Seeing Zhu's calm and confident appearance, Lin Rei was dumbfounded. How long has it been since they left? Furthermore, he had already seen Yi Xiang's aptitude before. It seems, not all of them are top-notch. I can't even be considered second-rate. However, the power of my bloodline is extremely vigorous. However, that is because I don't have any special body constitution. Thus, in summary, he was unable to understand why Zhu wanted to take Yi Xiang as her disciple. Furthermore, more importantly, why would Zhu want to take Yi Xiang as her disciple? Enough, I have already confirmed this matter. Yi Xiang, this disciple, will definitely be taken in by Emperor Huang. As she said that, she had the "don't stop me" expression. Her appearance was extremely comical. However, Yi Xiang was unable to interrupt the conversation between the two of them. In the end, she was unable to contain herself and spoke up to stop the two of them from continuing their conversation. That, when the two of you are talking, can you not bring me along? Furthermore. As she said that, she looked at Zhu with an apologetic expression. I am sorry. It is not that you are not good enough. Rather, I have already experienced too much during this period of time. After saying that, Yi Xiang stood up and walked over to Lin Rei. Then, he cupped his hands and said, Senior, I will wait for you. I will wait until you are willing to take me as your disciple. Senior, please call for me at any time. This junior will always be by your side. Seeing Yi Xiang acting in such a manner, Zhu was dumbfounded. She was completely dumbfounded. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? At this moment, those were the words that were written all over Zhu's face. She was unable to understand why the situation would develop in such a manner. Earlier, she was clearly the one who was taking in a disciple. Why did she become Yi Xiang's disciple now? Furthermore, wait, you too, as if she had realized something, Zhu recalled Lin Rei's actions earlier. After all this time, it turned out that the two of them knew each other. Furthermore, Yi Xiang had the intention of marrying him. This won't do, even though she understood that it would be extremely difficult for Yi Xiang to become his disciple. When she thought about some of the things in Yi Xiang's body, her originally silent heart began to burn with passion once again. Yi Xiang, you can't do this. What's so good about this fellow? Furthermore, if you follow the Emperor will give you things that he can't. Whether it's cultivation techniques, secret techniques, combat techniques, or even movement techniques, you can have whatever you want. Furthermore, let me tell you this. Lin Rei's cultivation is no match for the Emperor. The Emperor can easily crush him with one hand. As she spoke, her face was filled with pride. It was as if she felt a great sense of accomplishment for saying this. On the other side, Lin Rei's face turned black. He never thought that Zhu would be so shameless in order to take in a disciple. She would intentionally injure him so that she could use him to cook. Lin Rei had already seen through Zhu's actions. However, he could not understand what Yi Xiang had that would cause Zhu to be so persistent. As he thought about it, he communicated with the system using his divine sense and said, "System, check all of Yi Xiang's information." Ding. Checking system is activated. Ding. Checking host's information. Name, Yi Xiang. Checking will now begin. Host, please wait. When he heard the system's cold voice, Lin Rei was extremely familiar with this feeling. He had experienced it many times before, so he did not think much of it. Time slowly passed. Finally, the long-awaited system notification rang in Lin Rei's ears. Ding. Yi Xiang, Emperor-level aptitude, top-rank spiritual root, tyrant body, devouring blood. Temporarily sealed. Requires a large amount of energy to open. Chapter 1344. Emperor-grade aptitude? What's that? Lin Rei was puzzled. However, he remembered that there was only supreme-grade aptitude on his information board. Aptitudes are categorized into lower, middle, upper, supreme grade, king grade, emperor grade, honorable grade, saint grade, and boundless grade. According to the categorization, the host's aptitude is only at the 4th grade, so, host, you have to work harder in the future. Otherwise, you will not be able to catch up and your cultivation speed will be very slow. Lin Rei heard the system's explanation clearly. However, the system did not explain that there were different grades for aptitudes. He had always thought that supreme grade aptitude was the highest grade. Now, it seemed that he had thought too much. After a long time, supreme grade aptitude was only at the middle to lower grade. Damn it. Thinking about it, he felt unhappy. He did not expect that Yi Xiang, who he looked down on previously, would have a higher aptitude than him. Where was the justice? However, he felt much better when he thought about his spiritual root and physique. Of course, more importantly, he still had the system. As long as the system was around, everything would not be a problem. Aptitude? That was not a problem. He felt much better when he thought about the information given by the system. Yi Xiang's aptitude and talents were all sealed, especially his tyrant body. He had seen this kind of physique in the scripture depository. Tyrant body was the strongest physique in the world. It was born to walk the path of body tempering. Moreover, the path of body tempering would be very fast. It was many times stronger than ordinary body tempering. Yi Xiang's devouring. Devouring blood is another talent of his. However, it is not a good thing. The bloodline in a physique is not compatible with the physique. This will hinder the cultivation of tyrant body in the future. More importantly, the devouring blood is not a particularly good bloodline. When you met the devouring clan, they had the devouring blood in their bodies. Their physique was the devouring physique. That was why their cultivation was so strong. Now, this little guy's physique is completely different from his bloodline, so the system did not continue. Regarding this, Linley's face turned ugly. Indeed, the Devourer clan that he had met back then was indeed very powerful. Linley had not expected that he would meet people with the Devourer bloodline in the underworld. Zhu, I'm sure you're aware of the problem with this little fellow's body. He believed that Zhu definitely knew about it. However, he was even more curious about how Zhu was going to solve this problem. Sure enough, a look of surprise flashed across Zhu's eyes when she heard this. In the end, she nodded and said, "That's right." The Emperor had already sensed this child when he first arrived. The mighty body has the strongest physique in the world, and the bloodline in your body is the devouring bloodline. In addition, you have an imperial aptitude and a supreme-grade spiritual root. This is the first time that the Emperor has seen such a combination, let alone you. Looking at Yi Xiang, Zhu clicked his tongue and continued, "However, I think that the person behind him should know about the problem in his body. That's why he refined the things in his body and sealed them. I have to say that that person is wise." Ru Meng was sealed by the other party. "I'm afraid that we won't be able to meet this little fellow now." Lin Rei nodded. He agreed with Lin Rei's point of view. However, to be able to seal such a physique, the person's cultivation must be extraordinary. At the very least, the person's cultivation must be similar to his. If that's the case, the way he looked at Yi Xiang changed. To possess such strength, he did not understand why the other party would come out to find a sect to be his disciple. Logically speaking, the cultivation of the person who sealed him should be extremely high. Why was it like this? To the side, Zhu felt that Lin Rei was acting strangely. She asked, "What are you thinking about?" "The Emperor is telling you. The Emperor wants this little fellow. If you dare to fight with the Emperor over him, humph, you'll have to weigh your own weight." After saying that, Zhu rolled up her sleeves. She had an appearance as if she was preparing for a fight. Yi Xiang, who was watching from the side, was puzzled. I'm sorry to interrupt." Yi Xiang's voice sounded from the side. "I say, can the two of you not use sound transmissions? If there's anything you want to say, just say it out. Also, what are the two of you doing?" Yi Xiang asked when he saw Zhu's appearance as if she was about to fight. The originally solemn atmosphere was instantly shattered the instant Yi Xiang finished speaking. Zhu retracted her hands and looked at Yi Xiang with a serious expression. She cautiously said, "Little fellow, agree to the Emperor. Really, the Emperor will definitely be able to solve your problem. Furthermore, the Emperor that you want to become might not necessarily be inferior to Lin Rei." After saying that, in order to obtain Yi Xiang's affirmation, Zhu promptly turned her head and winked at Lin Rei. "Little fellow, hurry up. This old man has been lonely for so many years. It's rare for me to see a disciple who is honest. You, don't mess things up for me." At this moment, Zhu's appearance was extremely comical. However, when he saw the serious expression in Zhu's eyes, Lin Rei was moved. At this moment, he was certain that Zhu was not joking. Thinking about the situation within Yi Xiang's body, he finally nodded helplessly. "Yi Xiang, this old thing is right. His cultivation is stronger than mine. Furthermore, it's not just by a little bit. Most importantly, if you acknowledge him as your master, you will receive a lot of benefits. For example, the young realm lord." Right. Lin Rei is right. The Emperor is the realm lord of the Hongmeng realm. As long as you acknowledge me as your master, you will become the young realm lord of the Hongmeng realm. All the living beings in the Hongmeng realm will listen to your orders. Hearing the words of the two, Yi Xiang was stunned. He did not care about these things. Do you know the way of the sword? Is it as powerful as the myriad sword technique that Senior Lin displayed earlier? Zhu, Lin Rei. At this moment, Zhu and Lin Rei deeply understood what it meant to collapse, what it meant to be helpless, what it meant to be defeated by you. The two of them chatted for a long time, offering all sorts of conditions. After a long time, Yi Xiang's attention was not on this at all. The only thing he wanted to know was the question he had asked Linli earlier. The way of the sword. Regarding this, Linli didn't know how obsessed Yi Xiang was with the way of the sword. Do you know the way of the sword? Seeing Zhu Zhu in a daze, Yi Xiang opened his mouth again and asked seriously. Old thing, say something. He is asking you a question. Seeing Zhu Zhu still in a daze, Lin Rei used his elbow to poke Zhu twice. Oh, the way of the sword, right? After regaining his senses, Zhu Zhu stuttered and a long sword appeared in his hand. The long sword was 3 feet long and 2 fingers wide. There was a long red brand in the middle of the sword and the 2 words, Feng Shen, were very eye-catching on the hilt. F***ck, this sword, Lin Rei naturally noticed the appearance of Feng Shen. Towards this Feng Shen, Lin Rei was tempted. This sword was a good item. Especially the sword aura that was swimming around its body. It was obvious that it was not something he could obtain. At the very least, it was beyond the scope of his refinement. Based on his initial estimation, it was at least a 6th grade saint. Good sword. Chapter 1345. He stretched out his hand and slowly touched Feng Shen. This was the first time he had seen such a sword. Although it was not as high level as the dragon spear, it was the most expensive sword he had ever seen. What are you doing? Just as Lin Rei was about to touch Feng Shen, Zhu's voice rang in Lin Rei's ears. Suddenly, Lin Rei woke up from his stupor. He turned his head and saw Zhu's terrifying eyes staring at him. Feeling slightly awkward, Lin Rei did not know what to say. However, looking at Feng Shen, he could not help but say, this Feng Shen is not bad. Can I have a look at it? Moreover, he pointed at Yi Xiang and said, his cultivation is still too low. Even if you give it to him, it would be useless. For a sword of this level, not to mention using it, even if he activated it, the spirit qi in his body would probably be sucked dry. As soon as these words came out, Yi Xiang gave Linli a strange look. He hadn't expected Linli to respond in such a manner. A hint of gratitude appeared in his eyes. Of course, only a small cabbage like Yi Xiang would think that Lin Rei was purely concerned about him. Zhu was different. After all, he was much older. The corner of his mouth rose and he sneered. He clearly saw through Lin Rei's intention. Linli, that's enough. I can't give you the investiture of the gods. It's for my disciple. Even if he can't use it now, he can wait until his cultivation improves. We can afford to wait. As he spoke, a storage ring appeared in his other hand. Feng Shen instantly entered the storage ring and handed it to Yi Xiang. Here, this is for you. This storage ring is for you from now on. Seeing Feng Shen disappear and give it to Yi Xiang, Lin Rei realized that he had the intention to continue. As for Feng Shen, Yi Xiang only wanted to take a look at it. He did not have any intention of taking it for himself. For a weapon of this level, as long as he had the time, not to mention one, as long as he had the materials, he could get tens of thousands of them. At the same time, at the entrance of the restaurant, an old man wearing the uniform of the Alchemist Guild walked in. As soon as the old man appeared, the entire restaurant was no longer calm. There were cries of surprise, and there was an endless stream of people trying to curry favor. Damn, isn't this the president of the Alchemist Guild? Why is he here? That's right. Why is this supreme being here? Damn, don't tell me, he's here to eat. TSK, are you stupid? Do you think an existence at his level still needs to eat? Yes, this person has never appeared on such an occasion before. For a moment, the entire restaurant was no longer calm. Even the owner of the restaurant was startled and ran all the way to the old man from upstairs. Elder Yu, why are you here? The old man named Ling Yu, also known as Elder Yu, was the president of the Alchemist Guild. His alchemist cultivation was at the peak of the entire Huanghui city. Even in the surrounding cities, he was one of the most famous people. Elder Yu stopped and looked at the boss who was trying to flatter him. Elder Yu frowned, but when he remembered that Lin Rei was here, his frown relaxed. "I'm here to look for one person, As he spoke, his words came to an abrupt halt as his gaze fell upon Linley, who was seated with Zhu and Yi Xiang in the distance. Suddenly, his pupils contracted. He no longer paid any attention to the restaurant owner as he jogged towards Linley and bowed respectfully. "Senior, I've finally found you." Clang. Suddenly, the entire restaurant was filled with clanging sounds. Everyone's jaws seemed to have been dislocated. Their expressions were colorful. The boss who was trying to flatter Elder Yu was even more shocked. Others might not know, but he was very clear about the strength and nature of this Elder Yu. He was a man of his words and had a strange temper. He was a man who would suffer if he didn't agree with him. But now, while everyone was still in shock, Lin Rei heard Elder Yu's voice. He frowned and turned his head to look. So it's you." Looking at Elder Yu, wasn't this the old man from the Alchemist Guild who was shocked by him before? Yes, senior, it's me." At this moment, Elder Yu was nodding and bowing with a flattering smile on his face. Once again, everyone was shocked. Lin Rei didn't care about the expressions of the people around him. He looked straight at the old man and said indifferently, "Did you bring the thing?" "Yes, I did." As he spoke, Elder Yu's body trembled. He quickly took out a storage ring and held it in front of Lin Rei with both hands. "Senior, there are 20 million high-grade netherworld jades here. Our Huanghui city is a 9th-grade city. The benefits are only this little, so we don't have that many high-grade netherworld jades. Please accept this little bit." Looking at Lin Rei's indifferent expression, Elder Yu thought that Lin Rei heard that he gave too little. He quickly explained. However, just as Elder Yu was worried, Lin Rei nodded and didn't say anything. Instead, he took the storage ring and kept it. He looked at Elder Yu again and continued, "Any news on the bloodline grass?" Bloodline grass, this, What? Don't tell me you don't have it in the Alchemist Union?" Seeing the old man stuttering, Lin Rei frowned. This was a little different from what he expected. According to the little dragon, there should be bloodline grass here, but looking at Elder Yu's expression, he didn't seem to have heard of it. The Union didn't have it either. On the side, hearing Lin Rei asking Elder Yu to find bloodline grass, Zhu's smiling face fell instantly. You asked him to find bloodline grass for you?" As soon as the words came out, the temperature in the air dropped to freezing point. Those who were strong were fine, but those who were weak were in trouble. Their bodies trembled, and some even fell to the ground, curling up into a ball. They looked very pitiful. Feeling Lin Rei's anger, Lin Rei's face was calm as he nodded as if he didn't feel it at all. "That's right, I did ask this old man to help me find bloodline grass. I don't see any hope with you. Maybe you really have heard of bloodline grass, but I don't have the confidence. After all, this concerns the evolution of my brother's bloodline. I can't take the risk. In addition..." Looking at the candle, Linley let out a sigh, then continued, speaking out of anger. "2. Don't feel confident in being able to help you break through the ceiling formation." "So, I see." Hearing Lin Rei's words, Zhu's anger was extinguished. Indeed, he had heard of bloodline grass. As for whether it existed or not, there was only one answer. As for bloodline grass, he didn't need it at all. After all, his bloodline was very strong, so, furthermore, he didn't place all of his hopes on Linley. With Linley's meager cultivation base, how could he possibly break the seal on his body? For Linley to be able to escape for a short period of time was already very good. In his eyes, disappointment flashed. Lin Rei noticed it and smiled bitterly. "Actually, you don't have to be so pessimistic. Maybe there will be a way in the future. Chapter 1346. Perhaps. Fortunately, after so many years, Zhu had already accepted these matters. Whether or not he could be completely released would depend on the will of the heavens. If something like this were to happen during the first 1,000 years of being sealed, it would give him hope but disappoint him in the future. The consequences would be very serious. After so many years, he understood one thing. The greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. From the very beginning, he did not have much hope in this matter. After all, he had the most say in the strength of a sealer. How could a little saint who had experienced the Tao fruit be able to break the seal of the eternal life realm? Seeing the disappointment that flashed across Zhu's face, Yi Xiang's heart softened. He extended his hand and patted Zhu's shoulder, comforting him. It's all right. Although I don't know what you're talking about, I believe that nothing in this world is impossible for a determined person. It's only a matter of time. Zhu and Lin Rei were stunned when they heard those words. However, in the next moment, Zhu smiled. A trace of a victorious smile flashed across his eyes. I'm too pitiful. Look, if that's the case, don't you think you should take me as your master? Don't worry, Emperor also knows Lin Rei's sword technique. Don't worry, it's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. However, even though he said those words, he was secretly begging for mercy. He secretly transmitted his voice to Lin Rei. Lin Rei, you've spoken your mind just now. Tell me, how are you going to compensate me? When he saw Zhu looking at Yi Xiang with a face full of smiles, he instantly lost his temper and compromised. After all, he still felt guilty about the previous matter. Tell me, what do you want? Let's make things clear first. I've just obtained these 20 million high-grade netherworld jades. It's absolutely impossible for me to give them to you. Medicinal pills, weapons, formations, talismans. I'll give you whatever you want. This was the best thing that he could offer at the moment. After all, he did not have anything better than this. Besides, he believed that Zhu's things would be much better than his. Just these? A trace of disdain flashed across Zhu's eyes as he looked at Lin Rei. What the hell? What do you mean? You don't like me? He had naturally sensed the disdain in Zhu's eyes, causing him to feel a heavy blow in his heart. When had there ever been a time when his things were highly sought after? Yet, they were now being disdained by an old thing. The uncle could tolerate it, but the aunt couldn't. As if sensing the rising anger in Lin Rei's heart, he suddenly smiled and went straight to the point. I have no use for those things of yours. You heard it just now, my little disciple wants to learn your myriad sword art. You see, the emperor won't, you say. As he spoke, he reached out and tapped the table lightly. Lin Rei's heart began to beat like a drum. The myriad sword art was one of the few sword arts that he was most comfortable with out of all of them. He turned his head and looked at Yi Xiang with some kind of expectation. In the end, he nodded helplessly. You old thing, I really can't do anything about you. As he spoke, he reached out and tapped his forehead. Suddenly, a thumb-sized golden ball of light appeared at the tip of Lin Rei's finger. Old thing, this is my comprehension of the myriad sword art and my own comprehension of the realm. This time, I'll let you off easy. As he spoke, he reached out and tapped Zhu's forehead. Suddenly, the inheritance of the myriad sword art began. Swoosh. 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 Beside Zhu's ears, the sound of swords suddenly rang out. Of course, it was only limited to Zhu. Yi Xiang and the other people present couldn't hear it at all. They didn't even know what it was. Myriad sword art? Feeling the sword art and comprehension that was sent into his mind, he suddenly had a deeper understanding of Lin Rei's generosity. If he knew earlier, this kind of comprehension was the most precious thing. Even master and disciple wouldn't be able to share this kind of comprehension with each other. But now, Lin Rei actually, For a moment, the gazes that looked at Lin Rei were a little different. You should be able to learn the myriad sword art very quickly, but... He ignored the strange look in Zhu's eyes. When he thought of his own mission, he didn't want to give up on such a simple mission. Even more so, he couldn't let go of the mission's reward. What? I've given you the myriad sword art and comprehension, but you have to help me with something. Otherwise. As he spoke, his finger slowly moved away from Zhu's forehead. The light of inheritance slowly weakened. The originally smooth inheritance started to become intermittent. It even showed signs of disappearing. Suddenly, Zhu became anxious. There were some things that he needed to hand over. Only then would he be able to successfully accept Yi Xiang as his disciple. Therefore, tell me, what do you want? Sure enough, once Zhu said those words, a smile appeared on Lin Rei's face. He said, let your disciple participate in the Sword Sect's entrance test. As long as he is able to enter the Sword Sect, you can do whatever you want after that. Even if you let him withdraw after he enters the Sword Sect, the prerequisite is that he must enter the Sword Sect. That is one of the conditions that I've proposed. In that case, if you agree, I will continue. Furthermore, I will refine medicinal pills that will increase your disciple's cultivation without any side effects. What do you think? Hesitation appeared on Zhu's face. Originally, when he heard that his disciple had to join another sect, the flames of anger in his heart had surged. However, when he heard the words medicinal pills without any side effects, he hesitated. After all, Yi Xiang's current cultivation was too weak. If he wanted to quickly increase his cultivation, the only thing he could do was to use medicinal pills. Of course, there were other methods. However, those methods were extremely slow and dangerous. Therefore, are you sure? As long as he leaves the sect, you won't care? Zhu confirmed. This was the first time that he had encountered such a condition. After all, he had seen people use such a thing to extort heavenly treasures. However, he never imagined that it would be like this. Lin Rei noticed the confusion in Zhu's eyes. However, he had no intention of explaining himself. That's it. What do you think? Do you agree or not? I agree. Why wouldn't I agree? As soon as Lin Rei's voice fell, Zhu's voice rang out. As long as you help my disciple refine medicinal pills and refine a handy longsword, the Emperor will consider your conditions. The smile on Zhu's face was not temporary at all. He was clearly telling Lin Rei that he was very happy, that he was very happy. When he saw Zhu's complacent look, Lin Rei gnashed his teeth in hatred. If it was not for the fact that his strength was no match for Zhu's, he would have charged forward and given him a good beating. Deal. All right. The two of them reached an agreement. Immediately, Lin Rei's inheritance continued. Not long after, the inheritance ended and the two of them returned to their senses. What do you think? Do you know any sword arts? Suddenly, the moment Zhu woke up, a questioning voice rang out from the side. You brat. Zhu stared at Yi Xiang as if he was a child that could not be taught. If he had not taken a liking to Yi Xiang's talent, he would not have lowered his voice. Chapter 1347. Why did you hit me? Yi Xiang felt a sharp pain in his head and saw that Zhu had just retracted his hand. There was no doubt that it was him. Little guy, let me teach you a lesson. Never underestimate your master. As he spoke, he casually waved his sword fingers towards the table in front of him. Suddenly, as he waved his sword aura surrounded him. Then, the sword aura surged towards the place where his sword fingers pointed. With a bang, the table was instantly shattered into pieces. This is... He had seen the 10,000 sword technique before, so he recognized the move just now. It was a move of the 10,000 sword technique. If that was the case, plop, plop. Without saying anything else, Yi Xiang stood up and walked towards Zhu. He began to kowtow and recited, Master, please accept 3 kowtows from your disciple. Plop, plop, plop. The sound of his kowtows was real and there was not the slightest bit of exaggeration. In response, the smile on Zhu's face could be twisted into a flower. His appearance was as despicable and wretched as it could be. Lin Rei could not bear to look at him. Good disciple. Ha ha ha. An unrestrained laughter came from Zhu's mouth. He did not hide his loud voice at all. It was as if he was telling the whole world that he, Zhu, had a disciple. However, at the same time, in the living room of the city lord's mansion, Lu Ding and Wang Yu were sitting face to face. Both of them looked very serious, as if they had encountered a difficult problem. How is the secluded valley? Looking at Wang Yu, Lu Ding wanted to say something but stopped. Hearing Lu Ding's words, Wang Yu raised his head and looked at Lu Ding. He nodded sadly and said in a deep voice, "This matter might have to be brought forward. I just received news from the sect that the Grand Ancestor is going to personally open the Dragon Spring secret realm. So, the original time has been cancelled and a new date has been set." Oh. Then, when? Inexplicably, a bad premonition rose in their hearts. The day after tomorrow. What? Lu Ding screamed and jumped up from the chair. His face was full of anger. The day after tomorrow? How can we make it in time? Looking at Wang Yu, Lu Ding questioned. From Huanghui City to the valley, even with the fastest speed, it would still take 7 days. Now, the time had suddenly been brought forward by a few days. How could he accept this? Now, even if they set off now, it would be too late. Moreover, they were not prepared yet. Everything was disrupted in this passive state. Everything was disrupted just like that. Sigh. Looking at Lu Ding's crazy appearance, Daylily could not help but sigh. There was no other way. Once the Grand Supreme took action, even he had no ability to change it. Therefore, this matter was basically a foregone conclusion. Thinking about how unfair it was to Lu Ding, it was very obvious. What should we do? The geniuses of Huanghui City haven't moved yet. Now, Long Quan of the Deep Valley wants to start. What is the meaning of this? Are you deliberately excluding us? He didn't understand why the Dragon Spring Mystery Realm had suddenly been brought forward, and why it was at this time. What made him even more curious was why the Grand Elder of the Deep Valley, who had been in closed-door training, suddenly appeared at this time. Moreover, what kind of realm had the Grand Elder of the Deep Valley reached? He had no way of knowing. He only knew that when he first met the Grand Supreme, that invisible pressure made him a little breathless. Actually, seeing his good friend of many years suffering, Daylily finally couldn't take it anymore. He didn't want to see him like this. Actually, it's not that there is no solution at all. Boom! Just when he had completely lost all hope, Daylily's words suddenly reignited the flame of hope that had been extinguished. He took a step forward and grabbed Daylily's arms tightly with both hands. His eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at Daylily and asked, "Tell me, what other solution is there? The hope of Huanghui City's promotion lies on you." Thinking about how the geniuses in the city would work hard to improve after entering the Dragon Spring Mystery Realm and obtaining their own opportunities, he saw that the name of the 9th grade city would become 8th grade. He was confident, and he was about to do it. Sigh. Sighing, he shook his head and said, "The senior that we met previously. Although I don't know how powerful he is, I am sure that as long as he is willing to help, then it will be more than enough to make it in time for the opening of the Dragon Spring Mystery Realm." You. Lu Ding looked at Daylily in disbelief. He really couldn't understand why Daylily would suddenly think of that killing god. However, really? He wasn't sure if it was true. He only knew that the other party was very powerful, at least much more powerful than him. Yes, I am sure. Lu Ding's ugly face relaxed. Perhaps, subconsciously, he chose to believe in Lin Rei. However, it wasn't the case in reality. Lin Rei, who was far away in the restaurant, didn't know what was going on. He also didn't know that Lu Ding had his eyes on him. At this moment, Lin Rei had already paid the bill and returned to his room. The red flaming tiger was sitting cross-legged in front of Lin Rei, holding a teacup and drinking tea. "Brother Lei, how many years have we been here?" Suddenly, the little dragon spoke. "4 years. What's wrong?" He looked at the red flaming tiger in confusion. He didn't understand why the red flaming tiger would say that. Moreover, it was too sudden. As if sensing Lin Lei's puzzled gaze, a smile appeared on the flaming tiger's face. "I miss home. I miss Xiao Yu. I miss big brother Tian. I miss my little brother. I miss everyone. Where are they?" Images of each and every one of them flashed across his mind. Their smiling faces made him feel very warm. They were all his family, brothers, friends, and even his wife and children. "Sigh, soon." Lu Ding sighed. To be honest, he really didn't know when he could leave. After all, this was the empty underworld region, not their sacred world. If he wanted to leave this place, he would have to complete the mission or even get the chance to be teleported back. "Little tiger, you should cultivate well during this period." Lin Rei quickly changed the topic. He didn't want to continue talking about such a heavy topic. "During this period, I have been looking for the bloodline grass. As long as I can get it, the problem of your advancement will be completely solved. Who knows, when the time comes, your cultivation might be stronger than mine. Who knows, I might even need you to protect me at that time." Hearing this, little tiger was stunned. He said seriously, "Brother Lei, don't worry. When the time comes, I will definitely not bully you." Lin Rei, inexplicably, when he heard this, a bad premonition arose. Chapter 1348. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Ever since Yi Xiang had been accepted as Zhu's disciple, Zhu had not appeared. As for what exactly he was doing, Lin Rei did not know. However, he was certain that this fellow was definitely carrying out a devilish training for Yi Xiang. After all, Zhu's cultivation could be said to be at the peak of the world. As his disciple, how could he be so weak? Therefore, thinking of how Yi Xiang had cried while facing Zhu's difficulties, Lin Rei could not help but sympathize with Yi Xiang. Fortunately, Zhu was not his master. Otherwise, in the room, Lin Rei sat cross-legged. Feeling the slow growth of his cultivation, he could not help but smile bitterly. After reaching this level, wanting to take another step forward was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Unless there was a fortuitous encounter or the support of a terrifying energy. As for the energy within the floating treasure mirror, it was not something that could be obtained at any time. Lin Rei could be said to be constantly studying the floating treasure mirror. However, in the end, he was unable to find out what it was used for. As for that energy, it had never appeared again. Knock knock knock. Someone knocked on the door and the voice of the shop's waiter sounded from outside. "That, customer, there is a Mr. called Daylily outside looking for you." Daylily? The biggest taboo for cultivators was to be disturbed during their cultivation. However, when he heard the 2 words, Daylily, Lin Rei felt slightly relieved. Could it be that the Dragon Spring's secret realm is about to open? Thinking back to what he had promised the Daylily, he felt that it was unnecessary. If he had known that he could obtain so many high-grade netherworld jades from the Alchemist Guild, he would not have gone to that desolate place to compete with a bunch of little fellows who did not even have the time to think about it. Sigh, forget it. Since I have promised, I will go and take a look. After thinking about it, he shook his head helplessly. Withdrawing his cultivation technique, he stood up and tidied up his messy clothes. Then, he replied to the door, "Go ahead. Tell Daylily that I will go out immediately." Hearing this, the waiter at the door nodded repeatedly. His face was filled with excitement. "All right, I will go and inform her right away." A day ago, He had personally seen the president of the Alchemist Guild humbly and respectfully standing before Lin Ray. He did not even dare to breathe loudly. No matter how he looked at it, he didn't have the slightest bit of disrespect for such a powerful existence. Even the report just now had taken him a lot of courage. Inside the room, when he sensed the waiter leaving, he bitterly smiled. How could he not know what the waiter was feeling? Looks like it's time to leave. As he thought about it, he communicated with the Crimson Flame Tiger in the room beside him. Little tiger, stop cultivating. We should go. Okay, got it, Brother Lei. In another room, a young man opened his eyes. A bright light flashed through his eyes as he nodded at Lin Ray. Zhu. Zhu. He tried to communicate with Zhu's divine sense, but after calling out twice, he didn't receive a response. Suddenly, Lin Ray frowned. What happened? Previously, he had clearly told him not to leave the area within a radius of 10,000 li, so why was he unable to sense his aura? As he thought about it, he instantly released his divine sense. With him as the center, he searched the area within a radius of 10,000 li slowly. Lin Ray's frown deepened. His divine sense didn't miss anything. However, his divine sense couldn't find Zhu's figure. He couldn't even sense Yi Xiang's figure. This old thing, needless to say, the other party was already out of the range of her divine sense. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door again. This time, it wasn't the waiter, but the Crimson Flame Tiger. Looking at the Crimson Flame Tiger's figure, Lin Ray sighed. He withdrew his divine sense, walked to the door, and opened it. When he saw the Crimson Flame Tiger's human form, the worry on his face disappeared. Let's go. Wang Yu and the rest are here. I think they should be heading to the secluded valley. Okay, let's go. The two looked at each other, turned around, and walked toward the restaurant in the front yard. They weren't very fast and weren't very far away. Soon, they stepped into the restaurant. Looking over, he saw Wang Yu and Lu Ding anxiously looking left and right, as if they had encountered something urgent. Looking at the two of them, Lin Li frowned slightly. He knew a little about their cultivation levels, but he didn't understand what could cause them to be in such a hurry. Enemies? Lin Ray shook his head. It didn't seem like it. If they were enemies, would the two of them still be here? Unable to figure it out, he walked in front of the two and said in a deep voice, "What's the matter? Didn't you say that there's still some time before the Dragon Spring's secret realm opens? Why? Only a few days have passed. You're already here?" When he said that, Wang Yu and Lu Ding's faces fell. Their anxious gazes became even more intense. "Senior, it's not that we don't know etiquette. It's just that." Looking at the passers-by, they didn't hide anything and told him the news that they had received earlier. "Senior, you've received news that the Dragon Spring's secret realm in the secluded valley will open today, and we can't do anything about it. We thought that it was hopeless, but when we thought of Senior, we hesitated for a long time. In the end, we still came here to ask for Senior's help. The Dragon Spring's secret realm isn't just related to the secluded valley. It's also related to the many geniuses in Huanghui City. So, Senior, please help." As he said that, Lu Ding, who was the city lord, bowed to Lin Ray. At the side, seeing Lu Ding like that and Wang Yu being mobilized, a hint of guilt flashed across his eyes. To put it bluntly, it was all because of him. If it wasn't for the Grand Elder of the secluded valley, they wouldn't be in such a sorry state. He also faintly felt that something seemed to have happened in the secluded valley. Otherwise, the Grand Elder, who had been in seclusion for a long time, wouldn't personally come out to preside. Seeing the two of them like that, Lin Ray's eyes flashed. He looked at the red flame tiger and said in a deep voice, "Tell me, what do you think?" Seeing Lin Li's gaze, the crimson flaming tiger was stunned for a moment before coming back to his senses. He slowly said, "I think we can go. As for this Dragon Spring Pocket Realm, I really want to see what it is. Who knows, there might be something fun inside." Oh. Looking at the red flame tiger's face that was filled with anticipation, he finally nodded. All right, since that's the case, let's go take a look. As soon as he said that, Lu Ding and Wang Yu cried tears of joy. They were just short of giving them a loudspeaker to let everyone know their current state. You heard it too. I can help you, but the two of us also want to enter the Dragon Spring's secret realm to take a look. As he said that, he stared at the two of them, and his expression changed. Of course, you can disagree, but... Lin Rei didn't continue. They were all smart people, and there was no need to make things clear. Otherwise, it wouldn't be interesting. As expected, after hearing this, the two of them were stunned. Wang Yu's eyes were conflicted for a long time, but he still agreed in the end. At this moment, he really had no other choice. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this. All right, since that's the case, we'll agree to it. Chapter 1349. Lin Rei nodded, but he did not stop there. He continued, not only that, you have to fulfill your promise to me. Wang Yu was speechless. He had seen greedy people before, but he had never seen such a greedy and shameless person. If he knew how powerful Lin Rei was, he would not have thought much of it. After all, the person he hired was a saint. We agree. Of course, we will agree to Senior's conditions, Lu Ding said. Yes, yes, yes. Wang Yu quickly agreed. Now that the matter had been settled, he did not want to ruin the whole thing because of this. Seeing the two of them like this, Lin Rei could not be bothered with them. As long as he got what he wanted, everything would be fine. He nodded and walked outside. Let's go. I will bring you to the secluded valley. But, speaking of which, where is the secluded valley? He paused and turned to look at Wang Yu. He knew about the secluded valley from Wang Yu. He did not know anything about it before. Hearing this, Wang Yu's expression did not change much, but the corner of his mouth kept twitching. Lu Ding, on the other hand, looked as if he had heard something. He completely ignored the fact that Lin Rei did not know about the secluded valley. In his opinion, although the secluded valley was not a big sect, it was still very famous in Lu province. However, now that he saw Lin Rei, he began to doubt the reputation of the secluded valley. Was it because he was ignorant, or was it because the secluded valley was not very famous? Or was it because Lin Rei was so powerful that he did not care to know about it? Of course, only they knew the various reasons. No one could say for sure what the truth was. Senior, the secluded valley is in the east of Lu province. There is a mountain range there, and in the middle of the mountain range is a valley. The scenery in the valley is beautiful and the dark qi is very dense. All kinds of spiritual herbs grow there. It is no different from a paradise. At this point, Forgotten Sorrow said proudly, it can be said that the existence of my secluded valley is not inferior to those blessed lands of the large sections. Yes, I can prove it. Even Lu Ding couldn't help but praise. Looking at the two of them, Lin Rei nodded. All right, since you're in the east, follow me closely. Otherwise, if you fall into the void, don't blame me for not protecting you. As he spoke, he casually drew a space crack in front of him. Suddenly, gusts of wind gushed out of the space crack as if they had found a place to vent. Wang Yu and Yu were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Tearing space apart so casually. What kind of powerful existence was this? However, Lu Ding quickly regained his senses. Senior, this time, it's not only us who will be going. There will also be a group of disciples from Huanghui City, so, how many people? 10. 20. Looking at Lu Ding, Lin Rei couldn't help but frown. He hadn't been in the Dao fruit realm for long, and now he was leading 20 people into a spatial crack. It was likely that there would be problems. Really, there are more and more troubles. He sighed and then said, tell them to come here quickly. Remember, I'll only give you 15 minutes. If you don't come here immediately, I'll ignore you." As he spoke, he waved his hand to disperse the spatial crack and returned to the restaurant. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Lu Ding's expression changed. He didn't stay any longer and rushed outside. As for Wang Yu, she didn't go with him. Instead, she followed Lin Rei into the restaurant. "Tell me, what's the situation in the secluded valley and who are going this time? And what's that Dragon Spring secret realm? What's that about?" Wang Yu, who had just sat down and heard Lin Rei's series of questions, wasn't annoyed at all. She didn't have the right to be annoyed. She immediately replied. "Senior, the secluded valley's inheritance is still there. The people who are going this time are all reputable sects in the Lu province. As for the Dragon Spring secret realm, I know very little about it. I only know that the Dragon Spring secret realm existed before the secluded valley was established." Oh. Hearing this, Lin Rei's interest was piqued. To be able to establish a sect in a secret realm, the person who established the secluded valley must be a lunatic. Not all secret realms were good. If the secret realm was a spatial crack, who knew what dangers were inside? If a void demonic beast were to appear one day, then, the secluded valley would only be left with destruction. Of course, it was obvious that the person who established the secluded valley made the right bet. Not only was the secluded valley not destroyed, it was thriving. However, my cultivation base is a little. Thinking of this, Lin Rei returned to his senses and looked at Wang Yu. Continue. I heard from the older generation that they once saw the shadow of the dragon tribe in the Dragon Spring secret realm. Some of them even said that it's not just a secret realm in there. There's also a country in there. In there, experts are everywhere. People like me can only be a gatekeeper in there. Of course, I don't know if it's true or not, but there are records of such nonsense in the ancient books in the secluded valley's depository. After hearing Wang Yu's explanation, Lin Rei fell into deep thought. There was a dragon tribe and a country. If these were all nonsense, it could only mean that those who saw them were blind. If what those people said was true, and there were such things in there, then the outcome would be different. In this way, the Dragon Spring secret realm wasn't merely an existence of a secret realm. Perhaps it was a minor world. Thinking about it, Lin Rei was a little tempted. If he wanted to enter before, it was purely to accompany Little Tiger to take a look. Now, after hearing Wang Yu's words, he really wanted to enter and explore. After all, if that was the case, what kind of existence were those people? Perhaps he would be able to find out who the sealer was inside. He might even be able to find a way to remove the seal on Zhu's body from there. "Senior?" Wang Yu was stunned when he saw Lin Rei's smile, and he asked softly. You can continue." Keeping his excitement, Lin Rei asked him to continue. He really wanted to see what other things or information there were. The Dragon Spring secret realm. Not only that, it's also the final destination of us sect leaders. In the history of the secluded valley, whenever a new sect leader appears, the previous sect leader will enter the Dragon Spring secret realm and crush the jade pendant left behind by the previous sect leader. As for where the previous sect leader went, no one knows. Perhaps only those who entered the Dragon Spring secret realm and crushed the jade pendant left behind by the previous sect leader would know. Precisely because of this, the secluded valley has no foundation at all. Because the experts of every generation will leave, the secluded valley's reputation is only in the Lu province. Looking at Wang Yu, Lin Rei was even more certain that the Dragon Spring secret realm was definitely not simple. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.